Hey guys, what's going on? This is Colin's Process. Today's guest this week's guest is Rod Norville. Now, Rod Norville is a connector of sorts. Rod does a lot of Rod has been in the field of learning business for a long time, as well as running businesses. Rod has touched on the MLN world. He's touched on the financial world. He's touched on even a darker world that he gets into. Not gonna say anything about it, but it rhymes with Tip Club. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, he's been doing a lot of different things, and what really intrigued me about him when I first met him was just the fact of he knows all the same stuff that I do when it comes to high performance, high achieving, success, the theories around it. I mean, just listening to the same type of quote unquote gurus and different philosophies and stuff like that. He just knew them all, and I was like, I know how I went about that. I was really depressed, so I went deep into personal development. But he went into personal development partly for the same reason, but more so because he was trying to really expand it and get her done, lack of a better term, in the business world. And for the most part, he's done that. And it was just it was a really cool conversation sitting down with him, because everything that I just mentioned, we talk about success, what makes people want more, what people have to do to get more. We just have a really cool conversation about that kind of stuff. There is not a person who will listen to this that won't learn something. I've been in the personal development world for almost 15 years now, and yeah, there's always new stuff to learn, because every personal development philosophy comes from a person. And you can always learn something from every person you meet. So, with that, please sit back and learn something from Rod Norville. You are now listening to The Process with Colin Cummings. That's my intro song right now. You like that? That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Free is the key word for me.
Free is and people go, nothing's free. Well, we're part of like what's called a compensated community. So it's basically leveraging, what can I do to help you? What can you do to help me? How can we help each other?
Yeah, like an energy exchange kind of thing.
You got it. So I'll shut up so we can do what we do. And let me tell you, I'm really excited to do this for you. Like, just with you, for us. Whatever this is for, I don't even know, bro. I've never done one of these, eh? Like, no? I've done public speaking, but I've never done this like like this. No,
really,
never.
That's surprising.
Yeah, never.
That's actually very surprising to me.
Do I need to put this off, or I don't want it to make noise or do anything crazy?
I should probably do that too.
My personal assistant is now a virtual assistant, because she's out in Edmonton, and she's like, "Are you with Colin right now?" Because she manages my Facebook.
Yeah.
So she's seen like some conversations and stuff that she's like, "Are you with Colin right now?" So she's just messaging me, so I'm just gonna send her some pictures.
Just turning off one alarm.
Okay, so personal page
Off.
Okay, and let's go off. Okay, I am off.
All right, good to go. All right, today's setup's a little different. When I had Brandon here, I actually had like no headphones. It was actually lav mics, like body mics. But I find that this kind of audio is more dependable. There's a little bit of like frequencies and stuff like that when you're dealing with somebody of his energy level. Frequencies tend to
so crazy when we were coming here, because we were talking and with Michelle, and they have a team of about 5 people that they work on multiple projects together.
Yeah.
And multiple streams of income, and we're now one of they're adding us to their conglomerate.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you had told me about Brandon V, and I'm like, Brandon V. I'm like, Brandon, but like his name's like this long name, right? And I'm like, is it the same guy? And it's like, yep. So I was asking them, and they knew about you.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I just turned this off, but I just thought, Todd, would it throw us off, or if he stood over there and took pics?
No, he can do whatever he needs to do.
Is that good there?
I hit the little boys room.
Yep.
It's right here, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Here, hand that to me so I can just put it on the desk.
Yeah, he can grab it.
All right. It's a different type of intro with you because there's so much going on as you got here, and
leave all that out. Scare people.
Yeah, there should be a podcast that specializes in showing the pre-talks, because the pre-talks are always very different and interesting.
The raw, uncut.
But thank you for that. Thank you for Todd as well. I'm here with Rod Norville. Saying that right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we're here today. This is The Process, the podcast about mindset, habits, and behaviors, and what makes people want more, what causes that mental shift inside of people. And let's begin. I didn't actually know what to call you, actually, because you're a little multifaceted. What would you actually go by if somebody had to like explain you in a word?
It was funny as you're saying that. What would I go by? Rod works as my name, but we mean as far as what do I do?
Yeah.
That I've never really had a direct answer to as far as for like work or a career. What is it that you do?
Yeah.
But the best way to sum it up, I'd say, is I like the term connector. Okay. I like to connect people, what they want, what it is they're after, to any vehicle or an opportunity, or connect them with the right people, leveraging, I call it relationship equity, people that that can help benefit them. So a lot of times for me, it's been in business, and if people want to make a career change or they're entrepreneurial and it's mindset that they need to kind of get them over that hump of their belief.
Yeah.
Whether it's me, myself, or connecting to someone that can help. So I like connector.
Okay.
I like connector.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, I want to get to the point where I'm like that, where I'm like, I'm just going to call myself a connector. Because I know that you're a speaker, you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. There's so many like different things that you do, but you get to like sum it up in that way. And that's really cool. So let's start it off with, since we just got who you are and that you're a connector. I like to start it off because I think this can tell people more about you than your name. If we go with, what is your why when it comes to like what you do?
Yeah. To answer my why, I guess it takes me back to who I am, where I came from. So I'll keep it short so we can keep moving. But my mom and dad were both registered nurses, right? So I didn't come from money. I watched my mom and dad work really, really hard. But I grew up probably hearing like a lot of people, we don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Money doesn't grow on trees and all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got that. Money doesn't grow on trees, and we don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Who are these Joneses? How do you get to be one? That's what I used to think. But what was interesting is I watched my mom and dad work really, really hard. We didn't want we weren't like really, really bad off, but I knew there were people living differently, like when you're driving in a car and you look over and you see someone driving a car. If you're a car person, you look over and you're like, man. And we all think the same thing, right? We're like, drugs, you got to justify it some way. You're working hard. It's like, man, they got to be bucking the system. But what I had figured out is, no, maybe they had found a different way, a different vehicle of how to make money or to make a living. And I watched my mom and dad work hard. But at the end of the day, it was still, we don't need that. We don't need to keep up with the Joneses. And it was very, they did the best they could. So I didn't come from money. It's not like my dad was, sitting around saying, hey, I could be financially independent if I want to. I just don't want to. That wasn't it. He worked really hard. But at the end of the day, I watched that. And I played sports growing up, rep hockey at a high level. I watched friends that I played with go on to play in the OHL and then in the NHL, guys that the names, I mean, if they ever see this, they know, like Chris Snell and Rob Pearson and Dale Craigwell. I watch these guys go on and play in the NHL. Watch them go on, play in Europe at the end of their careers and come back to Oshawa, And I always had that kind of desire. to want to have a life or the lifestyle that sports could afford. But I played hockey, and back in the day, it was a different game than it is today. My friends were like 6'3", 6'4", and I wasn't, you know. But I still had that desire to want to do something special with my life because of that lifestyle. So from an early, I guess, point, I guess I realized that, you know, you didn't have to be an above average person. You just needed an above average desire to want to do something. Yeah. And I always had that. It didn't transfer in sports. It ended up transferring into business. And that's kind of where it started.
Wow. So I like that. An above average desire is the thing. That's true. That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Cause for me, like cause I'm definitely not. Other people will say differently because my desire like shows now, but like I don't consider myself an above average person at all. I just kind of like wanted something more.
Yeah.
So to that, what is the more that you wanted?
Okay. So yeah, absolutely. So the more was freedom. Okay. Possibly because I watched my mom and dad, like I said, work hard.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of people out there today. I mean, kids, right? Kids don't hear what we say. They see what they're experiencing. Right. So I'm a father. I have children, and my wife as well. And I think about kids growing up today watching their parents work hard, right? Working overtime, extra shifts. They got a full-time job. They got a part-time job. So they're watching their parents work hard. But at the end of the day, if they're still hearing their parents complain about money or say we don't have enough, at some point, you got to wonder if we're teaching our kids by our example that hard work doesn't pay. You know, and then they turn on the TV and see JoJo the drug dealer never complaining about money. And we wonder why our world's kind of messed up because they're following what they see as an example of success, or it's athletes or actresses, and that becomes our example of what I want to aspire to become. Why? Because of the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Where the messaging isn't really about that. When we're looking at what is an example, it's of principles, of values, morals, integrity, all of these things that should be the example of in a perfect world what we think our kids would want to emulate, but it's not. It's this.
Yeah.
And I think for me, because I've been on both sides of it, you know, had money, lost money, made more money, lost money. And at some point you start realizing there's got to be something more. So when you're talking about what is the more, I think it's growth.
Yeah.
I think it's growth. I think it's feeling like you're on the way to becoming better. It's like a lot of people think, when I have, then I'll be. Or when I have, then I'll do so I can be. And it's reversed. It's who are you going to be is going to cause you to do what you need to do so you can have what it is that you want to have. But it starts with who are you going to be? So character and things like that. And I had to learn, you know, through some hard examples along the way, you know, so I failed forward. I really failed forward.
Huh. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's painful.
As I talk to more people, I see this trend of like, it's like every failure is actually a step, more so than like a failure, more so than a downfall. It's like every single one is like a step towards
Absolutely.
the thing that you want.
Yeah. Well, you think about life in general. I mean, we learn how to ride a bike by falling off. We learn balance by not having balance. We learn how to walk by falling down. So, I mean, most people, if you have people listening to this, if they have a good marriage or a good relationship, they probably had a bad one, you know, and you learned what you would tolerate, what you would accept, what was, you know, appropriate, what was inappropriate based on from the past of learning from mistakes, failing forward. Even the word mistake, it comes from, I remember reading in a book that it comes from theater. It's a mistake, right? Like a do-over. So the idea is to learn from it. So I know I've built multiple businesses and teams and whatnot. And we used to do like an assessment, you know, every 90 days, kind of like a look back, because you can't connect the dots looking forward, right? You can only connect the dots looking backwards. That's why we talk about hindsight 2020 and whatnot.
Yes.
But we used to look at, in a 90-day segment of the business, we'd look at what worked, what didn't work, how can we get better? What worked, what didn't work, how can we get better? What worked, what didn't work, how can we get better? And it was always tweaking things that weren't working is what made us better.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember when I finally caught my stride in the industry of financial services, and it's like 4 or 5 years into it, and you know, you're making, you know, very, very good money, and people are like, man, that just happened. I'm like, yeah, it only took me 5 years to become an overnight success, you know?
Yeah.
Because they don't see that part.
Mm-hmm.
They see where you're at now. They don't see, you know, getting uncomfortable and studying personal development and sacrificing, turning off the TV and making commitments to yourself that life is not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to sit here and live vicariously through the lives of reality TV when I can go out there and make it happen and have that lifestyle. So when you finally reach perceived, I use that now, perceived success, it's perception. So people perceive it and they say, oh man, I just want to do that. But do you want to do what it took for that individual to get there?
Yeah.
I remember Tiger Woods used to say, everyone wants to hit a ball like Tiger Woods until they realized what he had to do to be able to hit a ball like Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And he was out shooting one day and someone said, man, I'd love to hit a ball like you. And he goes, no, you wouldn't. You love the thought or the idea of hitting a golf ball like me.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't love having to get up in the morning and go hit how many balls I used to hit and then have my hands and my calluses falling off and bleeding and cracked and calloused and go back in the house and tape up my hands and then go back and hit another 1,000 balls and then the rain started coming down and I said, oh, it's raining, I'm going to hit 2,000 more. You don't want none of that. You don't want none of that. You want to hit a golf ball like Tiger Woods. So it's cute. It's cute.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
That is very, very true when you think about it. I've only just started realizing that with certain things because I told you, I study so many interviewers and stuff like that. And when you're studying interviewers, the one thing you see is how many they've done. And you're like, oh, okay, that's why he's amazing in his latest one because he's done so many. And they talk about so much, like they research so much.
Mm-hmm.
They do so much research and they do so much to it. And it's
Prep.
and that's how I know that I want to do this because I'm like, okay, like I want to do that stuff.
Yeah,
and
when you know, you just lit up. Like I was watching your facial expression as you start saying that. So that means you're in your vein of what you're passionate about. Yeah, and then it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
Like, I remember when I fell in love with what I was doing for the first time, and it was like I don't know when the work stopped and the play started because it all meshed. Yeah. Kind of together, you know, and that's when it almost feels like it's effortless. You know, you're working, but it doesn't feel like work. Yeah. And that's why I say to people a lot of times, you know, people are struggling in where they're at, and I'd say things like, you know, you're gonna spend 80% of your waking hours doing something. You should probably enjoy it. You should, you know what I mean? You should probably enjoy it. Probably. You're gonna spend 40 years doing it. You don't want to look back and go, well, that was fun. No. You should probably enjoy it, and it doesn't have to be. People in jobs even, you know, find something to be passionate about it. Be a light in that workplace. You know, be a difference maker, or figure out a way to be impact. Yeah. Right? People go, oh, I only get paid by the hour. I go, no, you get paid based on the value you bring to the organization. Mm-hmm. Right? That hourly pay is maybe what you started with, but if you all of a sudden increase the value that you bring, indirectly through bonuses, through incentives, through promotions, you will get paid based on the value you bring.
It's very true. Yeah, that is very true. And it's hard because, like we were just talking about, so many people, they feel like slaves, right? Like so it's hard to like want to bring more value when you feel like you're being sucked dry already in an organization.
Well, it was a tough, probably going back a few years. I was watching this documentary about slavery, and I think I mentioned this to you earlier when we were just kind of talking, setting up, and it was saying that during slave times that slaves would work for you and you would clothe, feed, and house slaves. That's what this documentary was alluding to. And then it said, but it got to the point financially, economically, that didn't make sense anymore. What made sense was to put the slaves out, pay them to work for you, and let them figure out how they were going to clothe, feed, and house themselves. And as I'm sitting there watching that, I'm like, hang on a second. That sounds to me like slavery is not dead. That sounds to me like we just pay people now and they work for us. So they go to work willingly on Monday. And then, I hate Mondays, and Wednesday's hump day, and then TGIF, right? Thank God it's Friday. And then on the weekend, they rush to do everything that they didn't have time to do during the week. And then on Sunday, they get a pit in their stomach around dinner time. And it's not the meatloaf. It's because they're going to a place that they don't passionately love every Monday morning. Yeah. Right. And then it just repeats. So people are wishing their lives away for that weekend. And man, we're all going to be on a deathbed someday wishing we could have those days back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Let me just reset here. Perfect timing too. They turn over every 30 minutes. So
Oh,
it's gotta be...
is the sound okay for you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so true. I used to be one of those people. I've worked many jobs where I just hated it. Hated it so much, like beyond. Like I told you, I want to public speak myself, and like my first speech that I've written is actually weird. Todd will probably identify with this. It's like something came over me the other night, and I was up until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I had to write. And I'm not a writer. I hate writing. Like I hate it so much. And I just kept writing, and I just wrote up this whole speech about how you have to listen very close for your passion, because like there's so much in the world coming at you, and if you and it's your passion's so shy at first that it's just kind of like hey, and you don't really know, and you have to really listen close for it to really get to you. And once you figure it out, then it starts waving its hand.
It expands.
It says, hey,
I'm here.
like, hey,
I'm here.
It starts showing itself everywhere.
It's funny you mentioned that, and as you're saying that, what's triggering for me is like it's very shy at first, right? Your passion. You think of the word passion, that you would think that's a big word. Passion, right? Like it's got weight to it. But in the beginning, we still have our low self-esteem, our limiting beliefs, and all of that, which kind of stifles our passion.
Of course.
Because I always say, I do a lot of coaching with people in business and entrepreneurs and whatnot, and I always say human beings are fearful of rejection and failure just by nature.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're told no more times than anything from the time we hear no all the time. So fearful of rejection and failure just by nature. So stepping out of a box, getting uncomfortable, whether it's into entrepreneurship or asking for a raise at work or anything, when you got that little voice in your head telling you, rejection, failure, and people have low self-esteem and poor self-images, it's tough.
Yeah.
So that passion, which I believe we all have, I mean, I'm a Christian. I mean, I believe God puts a passion in us and a purpose for our life, right? And it's funny, you said it's called the process, right? And it's funny, I was talking to a friend the other day, and it's like, it's funny, they talk about all the principles in the Bible and the promises. Everybody can hear principles. Everybody wants a promise. We're not all loving the process, though. It's like, how do I get the promise? Because I like these principles. They're cool. I like the principles. Yeah. I want the promise. Promise sounds nice.
Yeah.
But this process part, this season that I got to go through of pruning and character building and chipping away at my pride and my ego and everything to get to who I'm really supposed to be. That part's not fun.
No, it's not. The reason I call it that is because my whole thing has been a process. Like I was working like 2.5, maybe even less, 2.5 years ago, I was working in a warehouse. So having to make the jump from being in that warehouse and working and knowing that kind of life, because I've always worked 9 to 5s, and then going to like videography and like making that leap, taking the leap of faith, and also learning all this stuff. It's been nothing but a process. But like when I look back on where I could be still, that's what's made me love the process, because I know the process leads to better things. And the reason people don't love the process, I think, is because it becomes very uncertain as you're doing it. Yeah. Like the process is never like, this is going to just work. It's like, no, you have to work, and we'll see where that takes you.
That's right. I used to tell people they want it to be easy. Yeah. Right. I used to say, if it's easy, it's sleazy. You don't want easy. And you think about the process as you were saying that, you think about like a crap pile, a crap pile. Yeah. And if you're going through crap, because everyone's going through crap. When I'm coaching people, I go, listen, you're either coming out of or going into crisis right now, everybody. And then people will say, Rod, you don't understand. Man, I'm going through some stuff. I'm like, hurry up and get through it. There's more on the way, because that's life. I tell people, you want your problems to end? Like you want a sure bet solution for all your problems? They're like, yeah. I go, are you serious? Are you ready for this? Do you really want a sure bet solution for all your problems? They're like, yeah. I said, all right, grab pen and paper, right? Okay, I'm ready. You ready for this? You're gonna take this to heart. Yeah. No more problems. You want no more problems. You want the solution. Yeah. Ready? Yeah. Die. Yeah. That's it, which is really permanent, but that's it. problems are what are going to shape us, right? Problems are what are going to build character. If you have the discernment to learn from the problem, like what you went through, did you grow from it? Did you get better, right? We're either going to get bitter or we're going to get better. Take your pick. And a lot of people choose to get bitter because that's easier. But getting better is, okay, I saw what I did. I saw what the impact was. I find people don't make change unless they see the impact, like of how it affected other people. Sometimes that'll wake you up, or the impact of something we're doing, a bad habit. We don't quit smoking till we got a cancer diagnosis. Guys, we're real slow. Like, you know, we've been treating the girl not the best, and now she's leaving. And like, we're watching the ball game and she's like packed up walking out the door, and we're like, hey, where are you going? I'm leaving you. What do you mean you're leaving me? I'm leaving you. When did that happen? Months ago. I'm packed up now. I'm leaving. Okay, wait, baby, we can talk. Just at halftime. Just give me half an hour. You know what I mean? we too late.
Yeah.
Right? But the impact of that, and you realize, you know, you hurt her, you hurt you hurt children, when you get the impact of your actions, then change happens. Prior to that, change, it's a cute idea.
Yeah.
And you have people change for a short period of time. They got great intentions. I intend to change. And we say greatest of intentions are often overshadowed by the least of actions.
Say that again.
The greatest of intentions are often overshadowed by the least of actions. I can intend to want to change, but I'm not willing to take the actions to change. So the greatest of intentions overshadowed by the least of actions. All day.
Yeah.
All day.
Jeez.
All day.
That one, yeah. I'm going to write that down. I actually have a board there where I put the quotes.
I saw that there. Coming in. Yeah.
That's going on the board. Yeah. Definitely. That's a really good one.
It's very true. It's very, very true. So
wow.
You learn a lot working with people.
Yeah.
I've worked with people for years, and we live in a pretty judgmental society, you know. People are very skeptical as well, because I've worked in many businesses where you're trying to, you know, inspire people that their life could be different. And people used to always come up and go, oh, you're a motivator. And I'm like, no, motivation fades. Yeah. Right. So I used to say motivation fades, but habits, they endure. So you can't motivate an unmotivated person. Right. Of course. So at best, what you can do is inspire a motivated person to take actions differently than they were taking. Yeah. And in taking these new actions, they might cause a different result, and the result changes their belief. So you can't motivate an unmotivated person. Like, someone can't just sit home waiting for like the clouds to open up and lightning to come through and hit them, and all of a sudden they're moved into action, inspired to change their life. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Right. For most people, we got to hit rock bottom before significant lasting change is going to happen. Prior to that, it's a cute idea. Yeah, I should probably change that. But there's no real commitment to take different actions to cause the change.
So then, speaking of habits, and working with so many people, what are you seeing in terms of the habits that are keeping them stuck? Yeah, most people.
Habits. The first habit is thinking. It's a mindset. And I know I've heard you in a few of our conversations talk about mindset, and it's everything. And I mean, for those of us that are believers, Scripture talks about be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And our thoughts and our mind is what causes to come out of our mouth. And in the Bible, it says the power of life and death is in your tongue, right? Because we can hurt people, we can inspire people, we can move people with our tongue and our words, but the words come from our thoughts, and they come from what we're focused on and what we're thinking that creates the direction. I used to always say to people, you're heading in the direction of your most predominant thought. So whatever you're thinking about is causing the direction in which you're going. So when you talk about habits, I'm like, well, no wonder it's so tough. I mean, people have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of a conditioned way of thinking. Conditioned. Like, it's hard wired. Like, this is the way I think. You'll hear people say, well, that's just the way I've always been. I know, but you don't like the result that you're getting. So if you want to change some things in your life, you need to change some things in your life. Thinking the way you thought has always got you there to where you are. So when I'm coaching people and they want a different result in their life, but they're not willing to change habits, which is what we're talking about here. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. If you could get somewhere you've never been, a different place in your life, by doing what you're currently doing, you'd already be there. So if you think logically, right, Colin, it doesn't make sense that someone could believe they could change their life without changing something in their life. That doesn't even make sense. Yet people do it. I think I could become wealthy if I just set up the CNE, remember CNE or Canada's Wonderland? I could set up like a table and it'd be like, I can tell you your future. It's only $10. Tell me your future. Okay. Tell me what you did last year. And tell me if you're going to do anything different this year. And it's almost New Year, so this would work perfectly. You going to do anything different this year? No. So you're going to do everything you did last year this year? Yes. Your life will be the same, if not worse.
Yeah.
$10, please. Yeah. Right? Because if you're not going to do something different, you can't expect a different result. People have heard it all the time. If you're continuing the same activity and expecting a different result, that's insanity.
Yeah.
So we're living in a crazy world of insanity. People get up at the same time, right? Brush their teeth at the same time, have the same breakfast, walk out the door at the same time, get in the car, drive the same exact way to work every single day. In fact, if they get to the point where they don't see the same lady at the same corner walking her dog every day, either she's late or they're sick. She's sick or they're late.
Yeah.
Because she's in her habitual pattern too. So we're just running our patterns. So
yeah, wow.
You got to break those patterns. You got to break habits to change your life. We're bound by them.
So then what is most of the things that are keeping people stuck? Like I guess it's like not changing and not wanting to change. But because I want to give value to the audience. I'm trying to always think of like
what causes people to stay stuck?
Yeah.
Belief. See, my personal belief is, and this may not be everybody's, is if people believed that, let me put it this way, human beings, which we all are, human beings act in direct relation and proportion to their belief in themselves and their ability to get a result. I'm going to say that a little slower. What I mean by that, if we believe we can get a result, we'll act. If we don't believe we can get a result, we will not act, right? You and I are sitting here right now and there's a roof and there's a ceiling over our head and neither of us is conscious or even worried about this ceiling coming in. However, we have no idea who built this house. We weren't there when they built it. I wasn't. Were you?
I was.
We have no ideas when they were putting the last touches on it. If the person that was supposed to finish the part that's going to hold this all up, we don't know that he didn't come home the night before and have his wife tell him that she was leaving him for his best friend. And the next day he came to work and he said, you know what I could do for fun today? We don't know that. True?
It's true.
Right.
Yeah,
but our belief is the roof's going to stay up. I mean, neither of us is thinking that roof's coming down. So we can sit here comfortably because we act in direct relation and proportion to our belief in ourselves and our ability to get a result. So people don't change because they don't do what it's going to take to change their belief about themselves. So here's what I mean by that. Personal development is huge in my world, right? I told you my mom and dad were both registered nurses. I worked in jobs and, I worked at McDonald's and I was a manager and then I worked in a factory. So the crabs in a bucket, you become like the people you associate with. That's a true story.
Of course.
Right? Tell me who your friends are. I'll tell you who you are. I remember hearing a leader say one time, you will be where you'll be in 5 years based on two things and two things only. The books that you read and the people you associate with, period. That will determine where you're going to be.
Yeah.
So if we're not willing to change what's going in here, then nothing's going to change what's going out here. And our belief in ourselves won't change. So when you start reading books or personally developing, you listen to podcasts, you listen to YouTube videos, and you're starting to trigger things that you truly know. I mean, God puts it in us for greatness, right? I become a Christian. I'm like, hang on a second. My daddy is a king. Right? Why am I picking up scraps and eating scraps? I'm supposed to be the head. I'm not supposed to be the tail, right? All this stuff, you start hearing that starts changing your belief, right? You start believing I can do anything that I put my mind to, right? My good friend Todd, who you met here, come here today, and he said, he talks about, God said, greater things than me shall you do. He said, go and do what I did. Todd always says, he didn't say go tell people what I did.
Yeah.
He said, go do what I did. But do you think we believe we could do what he did? No.
Yeah.
So it's easy to tell people what he did. That's easy. That's got nothing to do with me getting uncomfortable and doing something I don't believe I can do.
Yeah.
But he said, go do what I did. So belief about what I'm worth. So if I've only made 10, 15, 20 bucks an hour, I believe I'm worth 10, 20, 30 bucks an hour. To the point that if I make 20 bucks an hour and I get a job that's paying me 30, I feel good about myself because I believed I believe my belief was I'm worth 20, but now I'm making 30.
Yeah.
But if someone's making 50 bucks an hour and they lose that job and the best they can get is 30, we got two people working the same job for 30 bucks. One feels sad and one is elated.
Yeah.
Because he believes he's worth 50 bucks an hour. He believes he's worth 20. They're both making 30. He's excited. He's depressed. So personal development causes you to grow your belief about what you think you're worth, which means you'll take different actions. You'll take different actions towards being paid, compensated, remunerated, what you believe you're worth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I had a big lesson in self-worth this year. And like claiming it, taking back my power and believing I'm worth a lot more than I am. And it happened, of course, through problems. There's a bunch of problems that happened and I got to the point where I had to make my resume. And I haven't had to do that since I worked in a factory.
Right.
And of course, like, you know, my factory resume, there was a lot of lies on it because I just wanted to get the job that I was going for. I was like, these are factory jobs.
This will do.
I don't really care. I would just like talk. I'm like, I know once I sit down, they're gonna hire me. But I wanted to make it towards what I do now in terms of video and everything like that. And I wanted to be truthful, of course. And in video, you can't be true. You can't be like, I can do this, and then like they're like, okay, do it. And also, I'm like, you can't do that. So I had to write down everything that I've done, everything that I was capable of.
Okay.
I actually had to write it down.
Yeah.
I had to actually categorize it. Like, okay, I did this. What did I do in this? I actually had to break it all down. And when I actually looked at this like page and a half, I was like, wow, I'm much different than I was. Yeah. Like completely different. Cause I had my old resume and I had that one. And I was like, holy shit.
Come a long way.
It's like, it's completely different now.
Yeah.
And like, it made me see like, oh, I am worth more. Cause then I took those skills and I'm like, what do these skills usually get? Yeah. And I'm used to the $12 an hour. I told you there was this person who was charging, I was getting paid $50 an hour to make episodes for him. And I looked at what they usually get paid, someone with my skill set, and it was like 50,000. Yeah. And I was like, wow. Yeah. You know, and then my belief changed completely. My confidence changed. Everything changed. Everything changes as soon as I learned that.
And the powerful thing is, you'll notice once that change happens, I used to say it's a paradigm, but it's a paradigm. Yeah. It's a paradigm shift in your thinking. A mind once stretched to a new dimension can never regain its original dimensions. You can't, once you know, you can't go back to not knowing. So I'll give you a case in point. So I worked in the factory. Then I got into being self-employed in financial services, spent a long career in financial services, made a lot of money, lost money, and then had to reinvent myself. Actually, just recently, this last year, November to November was a season for my brothers and sisters under the blood. We call it my time in Malta. Okay. When Paul was in Malta and he was told, you know, something great's happening over here, but we're now here and this isn't really working out. But there was no stress because my belief and my knowing is that something good's supposed to happen over here, so I can't die here. But when you're in it, you can't see the forest for the trees. When you're in it, you can't even see past it. And I struggled, like you said, trying to reinvent myself. But there was a knowing, I guess, once you know, you can't go back to not knowing. So I guess at some point you figure out that, okay, this is a season that I'm in, right? If there's chapters in a book and there's a bad chapter, it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad story. Yeah. Right. There may be a positive ending, but it all comes down to belief, and something shifted, and the energy shifted. For those that believe in energy, law of attraction, stuff like that. I always laugh with that one because I have friends that'll say, I don't believe in the law of attraction. And I'm like, did you hear what you just said? They're like, yeah, I don't believe in the law of attraction. I said, yeah, I know, but you just said it's a law. So I don't know if you understand when you say it's a law, like you could jump off the CN Tower and say, I don't believe in gravity. Yeah. You're going to hit the ground, right? The law doesn't care whether you believe in it or not. Truth is truth. Fact is fact. Law is law. And I realized that there's a lot of people whose their beliefs are based on something that happened in the past and they're kind of stuck. Yeah. And sometimes it takes somebody from a different, looking at your circumstance or your situation from a different angle, because you can't see it when you're in it. It might take someone saying, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. And you know what I found out? It's the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? When it's sympathy is, oh man, I feel bad for you. That's terrible. She left you? Whew. Dang. Empathy is, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. You know what I found out? That if I could just maybe get around some more positive people when I was feeling like that, like if I could, interrupt my thinking, if I could almost like a distraction from reality, change my environment, I started feeling different. And when I started feeling different, I started acting different. When I started acting different, I started getting different results. It's like act like you want to feel and you'll start feeling like you're acting. Right? Yeah. People say fake it till you make it. I hate that saying because fake doesn't really work. Inauthenticity, people smell it a mile away. Yeah. So instead of fake it till you make it, I prefer faith it till you make it because that works.
That works. Yeah, that's a good one. That's good. I always hear face it till you make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true. Sometimes when you're going through it, you can't see an end in sight. It was like, oh man, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a train. It's more of the same, and it's like, oh, here we go again. Yeah. But no, it's when you get through it though, when you get to the other side of it and you look back, you're better for it. And for me, kind of what's kind of happened over the last year is I've realized that everything I was going through wasn't for me. That's so selfish. When people are going through stuff, what if everyone could take a paradigm shift that it's not for you? What if you're supposed to get through it so you can prove that it can be overcome, so you can use your experience to move, touch, and inspire other people? What if that was the perception? It would change everything.
Man, that means I'm going to help so many people.
So, God believes you can get through it. There's something for you to do with it. This didn't happen by accident.
I actually always say, anytime like something like just like outrageous is happening, I'm like, this is going to be a good story for when I'm a millionaire.
See that? and I'm telling you, everything will shift like that because, it's funny. Think about like, do you watch the Olympics?
No.
No, do you never watch Olympics or sports? Either sports, track and field at all? Okay.
Track and field I'll watch.
Okay, yeah. So I always think about when we talk about struggles and challenges, right, that people get to in life, right? I don't have to be athletes, but think about track and field. What I always love in track and field is in Olympics is when they show the story of they're putting the gold medal on the guy and he's standing there and tears down his eye, but then they show him that 6 weeks leading up to the games, he tore ligaments, and they show him like wheeling into the gym, putting down the crutches. He's got his leg in a cast, but he's still working out, and he's like and then he overcame all of this to perform at the Olympics. And why he's tearing up is because he knows what he went through. And you're sitting there watching, and you're like, and we're moved, we're moved because of the spirit of overcoming. That's what inspires us. It's the Rocky movies when he's like knocked down. It's the underdog coming back. That's what lights us up. Why? Because we all have that in us. So it moves us. It speaks to us. It resonates with our spirit, right? Could you imagine if they're putting the gold medal on him, and they put the mic in his face, and they go, "So, man, you just won the gold medal. You're the fastest in the world. Tell us, what was it like? All the training and the preparation." Could you imagine if the guy went, "Training? Preparation? I didn't train at all. That was a joke. Did you not see the last 5 meters of the race when I turned around backwards, kind of waved at everybody, and won the race?" Could you imagine? We'd be sitting there going, "Throw up. Ew." That wouldn't move us. That wouldn't move us at all.
Yeah.
It's the challenges.
It's true. So like the spirit of overcoming, I like that concept. How do you bring that out in other people? Because like we see it and we're moved because we all have it in us. But how do we ignite that in us?
For me, I'd have to believe you'd have to have seen an example of it. We don't know what we don't know.
Definitely.
So I know I have friends, they were raised by, single moms as an example. And single moms are powerful.
Yeah.
Single moms
that's why I have it on the board, my strong mother.
See that? Single moms have a story, and I believe everybody has a story. And not only do I believe everybody has a story, I believe that there's somebody that needs to hear your story, right? So there's people listening to this right now that are going to listen to this, and they're going through something. And if they could get that what they're going through isn't for them, it's to overcome it so they can help other people, the difference they can make, the impact they can have in this world wouldn't have happened if they didn't go through what they went through, which meant another life couldn't have been impacted, right? Each one teach one.
Yeah.
So everything that we're going through, if you realize it's to make a difference for other people, and if you can find that mindset, and it's not easy. I mean, I spent over a decade being a motivational speaker and an encourager, and then I hit my hard spot where I was like going through depression, suicidal thoughts, stuff I couldn't even relate to. I was an encourager until I became discouraged, and then I couldn't get myself out. I had to open up that it was some spiritual bondages and some things that had to be broken. But the truth of it was pride and ego that had to be broken, right? I had to be humbled. I had to be able to be relatable to people. My heart was always in the right place, like my intentions.
Yeah.
But the words and my way of being, how it was received, perception's reality. I used to live like if I said something, Colin, it offended you, I'd be like, I didn't mean to offend you. That was my intention. That's on you, right? No. Power of life and death in the tongue, right? So it doesn't matter what my intention was. Perception is reality. So if I say something and it lands for you as condescending, arrogant, egotistical, chauvinistic, all of that, that's reality for you.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for that. So it really comes down to self-control and discipline, which is a muscle that you can apply to anything, right? Whether it's in business, in your personal life, that's how it works.
That's really true. One thing, wow, time's flying here. Let me just reset this one more time.
Are we doing okay? Are we okay?
You're just like Brandon.
Who? What? What do you mean?
Well, with Brandon, like with other interviews, when I first started interviewing, I had to really pull things out of people.
Yeah.
But like you're similar to Brandon. I can just ask one thing and you can just go.
Is that bad? Do you want me to short?
No,
like
that's really good. No,
okay.
you want. I always feel like in an interview that I should be talking much less than you are.
Okay.
Because I'm here to like extract from you, right?
Okay.
So the more open you are, the better that is for me.
Well, you tell me how real raw you want to get. Like I told you, we can go there, but because I already said I got nothing planned or prepped. It's all of him, none of me, and whatever's coming out, it's coming out. So whatever you want to lead it with questions, I can. Blessed and highly favored. You blessed.
Well,
like any topics or specifics you want to go to?
I think what I really want to know about is what I'm going to try and find out from everybody is what was the darkest time in your life?
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's people that are going to be listening to this. Are we on right now?
Yeah.
Oh, this is real. The darkest time in my life. Whew, we're going to go there. All right. You know what? This is important to share. I mean, we see the campaigns, are you okay? And mental health. Like my mom and dad, I said they were both registered nurses. It was in mental health. They both worked at Whitby. It used to be called Whitby Psych. Now it's CAMH, I believe it's called in Whitby. That my dad was head nurse. Todd, who you met here tonight.
Yeah.
Interesting story. Him and I met when we were probably in our 30s, so 2004. Mm-hmm. I was born in 71. He was born in 73. But in 72, his mother worked with my father at Whitby. It was called Whitby Psych. Mm-hmm. And one of the patients had an episode and was coming towards his mother to attack her with a pole or a bar or something to this extent. And she was pregnant. And my dad jumped in and intervened. So Todd, who's a friend of mine, very close friend, a brother now, he's like, God put him back in my life. We met in 2004. We were in business together. In the business we were in, we were kind of competitive against each other. And now we've recently come back together at a time after I came out of a year of depression and suicidal thoughts for a year straight. And when I say suicidal thoughts, I open this up because I didn't even know that was even possible for me, to the point where my financial services background was in insurance. So I know things about insurance, to the fact that there's something in insurance policies called a suicide clause, meaning if you have a policy for more than 2 years, they still have to pay. It prevents people from thinking they're going to off themselves and go and buy an insurance policy.
Yeah.
So there's a 2-year kind of, it's called a suicide clause, to the point I called and asked if that was still in place. This all happened because I spent a decade growing business, becoming perceived success, right? Making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and really standing on stages and talking to people about what you got to do to become successful and what it's like, and bought my daughter a horse and traveling and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't successful. I wasn't successful at home. I wasn't successful in my relationships. I wasn't honoring my wife. I mean, it got to a point where you're a fake, right? And I believe the world, social media has helped. It's fake. Everyone's wearing masks, right? And it's interesting when life humbles you, when the carpet gets pulled out, it was almost like God pulled the carpet out, let me hit the floor, let me lay there in the mud for a year, and then just kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, can you hear me now? Mm-hmm. Can you hear me now? So darkest point, I'm talking Googling what's the least painful way to commit suicide. Googled that. Thought about, I'm from Oshawa, there's a bridge at Simcoe and Bloor. Thought about you could jump off that. I had a friend hang himself in school growing up. Thought about that. Thought about pills, go to sleep. Envisioned going to Union Station, taking out my wallet, handing it to someone, jumping in front of a train. Thought about driving into oncoming traffic. Every single thing I thought about, there was almost like God just sitting there going, oh, you're so cute. So cute. You take pills. I will wake you up in a hospital drooling, trapped in your own mind with brain damage. Swerve in front of a vehicle. Go ahead. Wake you up in a hospital paralyzed from the neck down. Everything was like, you'll screw it up. This lasted for a year. And it was literally not just over a month ago. Like, people see me now, talk to me now, they'd have no idea. But when I start sharing with people what the last year was like, I can't tell you how many people open up. But if you saw their Facebook and their social media, fake book, right? Life's great. I went off Facebook when I was going through this year, this year of depression and everything else. It was because I had lost a business, right? And I had spent 10 years plus beating up jobs. I was the guy on stage talking about JOB, just over broke, journey of the broke, jackass of a boss, jump off a bridge, JOB, never going to pay you what you're worth, only going to pay you what the job's worth, right? They're only going to pay you enough that you don't quit, and you're only going to work hard enough that they don't fire you. I had all this, I'd spew it out, right? Because I had listened to so many CDs and been to so many seminars, and it was all of this stuff that I was thinking better than a job. But my heart was to inspire people, because I really did believe that entrepreneurship was the only way to become financially independent, because I learned enough about the money game to know that you can't save your way to financial independence. You have to invest. You can't save your way there. You can't clip enough coupons. You can't return enough beer bottles. Okay. You can't save your way to financial independence. You have to invest. So to invest means you have to be able to pay your bills and have enough left over to be able to save and invest. But you look at a lot of jobs today and people don't have a lot left over. It's tough, right? Cost of living going up, income, wages, and salaries not going up to compete with it. Add some kids that want to play sports. Add the car breaking down, the furnace, the this, the that, unexpected expenses. Add breakups in relationships due to the fact that we were stressed about money. So now you're going to figure it out separately, which is even harder. Never mind the relationships that are staying together because they can't afford to split. So I had all of this stuff that I knew about the money game from being in financial services. So when the carpet got pulled out and I got money that I got to live on, and as it's going down and going down and going down, and my wife, who at the point in time who was able to retire from her job due to our financial situation, we got a house cleaner cleaning the house, we got all of that stuff going on, all of that's gone and stripped away. And you're humbled and you're left with who you really are. Like God's saying, let's see how big you think you are without all that stuff. And the truth of it is, none of that stuff made me happy anyways. It was all status. You buy things you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't even really like. That's just status. You know it all, you show it all, you owe it all. And when it was all taken away and I had to go submit and go get a job, I struggled with that job because I almost still had the ego of, I'm above this. Yeah. And it wasn't until November the 14th that everything broke. I had some addictions from the time I was 16. If it's cool to share here with you, with your view, struggled with pornography.
Yeah.
And it was like God said, you're not honoring your wife.
Yeah.
That ended, and that same day, the very next day, I was introduced to a new opportunity right in my wheelhouse to be able to help people in finances. Just, it wasn't insurance and investments, it's debt, which is the bigger problem anyways, right?
Yeah.
So I'm able to help people around the world now because of online digital marketing. So I'm passionate about that, and everything opened up. My job, I'm loving my job now because I can bring value and energy, and I'm excited. And then in my off hours, I can build a business. I've fallen in love with my wife all over again because I'm studying and listening to like podcasts about marriage, about parenting, about raising teens. And it's like, I'm realizing that to be congruent, you got to be successful in every area of your life. You can't be a successful business person and treat your kids like crap, right? It's how you do anything is how you do everything. And when everything got in alignment, it's almost effortless. So I was saying to Todd, I go, Todd, something's going on. I said, I feel like I got in the passenger seat and I said, God, listen, I'm 47 years old. I've been driving for 47 years. And clearly I don't know where I'm going because it's like a circle. It's like Groundhog Day. Yeah. I keep repeating the same mistakes. I keep getting the same results. It's the exact same outcome because I'm still the same person. And every time I try to change something, it's temporary, right?
Yeah.
It's temporary. And it's like, okay, you know what, God, I'm going to sit over here in the passenger seat and see that steering wheel. You take it because my GPS is messed up, right? Messed up. And its GPS means God provides service.
Wow.
So he's going to drive now.
I'd never heard that one actually. But so the darkest time in your life was
2018.
Yeah. It only just ended like a month
just
ago.
over a month ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But it was necessary.
Yeah, it seems like
it was necessary.
Because when we first started talking on the phone or through the voice notes, you were talking about how you're big on being authentic.
100%.
And it sounds like through that whole period, you got forced into authenticity.
100%. Yeah. And it started early. When I told you earlier about playing hockey, and it didn't hit me until I went through this year was a lot of self-assessment, self-evaluation, a lot of looking back. How did I get here? Yeah. You know? And I was trying to put the dots together. And authenticity is, I think I figured it out when I didn't make it in hockey. There's that inner voice of, I'm not good enough. So then you go overcompensate, but really it's insecurity of not being good enough. So whether it was working out in the gym to have a body to look a certain way so I could feel better about myself, superficial, right? I ended up becoming a male dancer. I used to call it a clothing removal technician, but it was a male stripper.
Really?
From age 23 to 30. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how it all happened, but it was a chain of events that if I look back now, I was in that environment, which is a horrible environment. Okay.
Yeah, I would think so.
Watch guys doing drugs and the sex and everything else. And my mom was in Barbados praying for me because I never touched drugs. I never drank. And I was there to make money. I'd go do my show and I would get paid and I'd leave, but never got all wrapped up in the sex and the drugs and the alcohol. But I was yet in that place. So there had to have been a covering over me because I watched guys make $1,000 in a night and put 800 of it up their nose.
Yeah, of course.
Why did that never affect me? So there was definitely a covering, but all of this stuff that had to happen to cause everything that happened, it all had to happen because all of it was to cover low self-esteem, right? You're on the stage, the lights are on you, you're the center of attention, you're taking steroids so you can build this body. It's all to hide insecurity. It was all superficial.
To anybody who's watching right now, like they just perked up.
My mom's going to watch this and cry.
How did that come to be? How did that happen?
Which part? The dancing?
Yeah.
Interesting story. So I was we can get real here, right?
Yeah, as real as you want to be.
I was a virgin till I was 19.
That's pretty
my
amazing.
First daughter's mother was my first.
Wow.
I still remember to this day, my mom and dad were in Barbados. They moved back there when I was 16 years old, and I stayed here with my brother and sister because they were 9 and 10 years older than me.
Okay.
The full story is my dad got a job offer to go to Barbados when I was younger, and I was going. It wasn't open for discussion. We had going away parties, got presents from my friends, and then the job fell through. So we stayed. Years later, my dad gets another job offer to go back to Barbados and run the whole psychiatric hospital in Barbados.
Wow.
This time, though, I'm now 16. My brother and sister are 9, 10 years older. My dad says, hey, you could come with us, but your brother and sister, Paul, Sandra, they're 9, 10 years older. You can stay here, finish high school. And if you want to come back to Barbados after you finish college or university here, I mean, education from here, you go back there. You're good.
Yeah.
But I was born here. So, and I played hockey. I loved Barbados to visit, but it was never going to be where I was going to live. So my daughter's mother, when she told me she was pregnant, I'm like, pregnant? I phoned my dad in Barbados. I go, Dad, I got some news. You're going to be a grandfather. He goes, oh, how do you feel about that? I go, how do I feel? He goes, yeah, how do you feel? I said, I'm not ready. I was 23 years old. I said, I'm not ready. He goes, you got 9 months to get ready.
Yeah.
Just like that. But I was a kid having a kid. You know what I mean? I was 23 years old. And what had happened was my daughter was born. And after 5 months, her mother wakes up and says to me one night, I'm not in love with you anymore. And she leaves with my daughter, 5 months old. And I'll never forget it because my aunt and uncle, they lived in Bowmanville. And my aunt comes over. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm depressed. I'm like looking at the TV. My aunt and uncle come in and they said, hey, Rod, we talked to your mom and your dad in Barbados and you're going to move in with us. I said, no, I'm good. They go, no, you're not. I go, yeah, I'm good. They go, what are you doing? I said, I'm watching TV. They go, Rod, the TV's not on. I said, oh. They go, you're moving in with us. I said, no, I'm not. They said, okay, well, we're taking your stuff. So if you need any of it, it's at our house. And that was it. I moved in with my aunt and uncle. And what's funny about this story, how did I get into dancing? While I'm living with my aunt and uncle, because of my low self-esteem, because my daughter's mother had left, I start working out at the gym. I run into a guy. He starts talking to me about steroids. I start taking steroids. I put on some size. And I run into a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in years. His wife was a female dancer. And she sees me. I'm like 30 pounds heavier than she remembers me. She goes, you've been working out? I go, yeah, I'm working out. People on steroids, but you don't tell people on steroids. Yeah, I've been working out. Like people don't know. Naturally working out, right? And she says, wow, you look really good. She goes, have you ever considered like dancing, male dancing? I go, what? She goes, like male dancing. I go, male dancing. I go, no, what do you mean male dancing? I go, like what you do? Because she was a dancer.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, they have amateur night every Wednesday night.
My gosh.
I went there for a joke and it turned into a 10-year career.
Wow. Really? Just make sure you're in focus. That's
crazy.
That's insane.
Crazy.
Because you'd never think that at all, ever.
Yeah, people go, you don't sound like one. Well, what does one sound like?
Yeah, exactly. That's wow.
But you know what? You ever hear what the enemy meant for bad, God meant for good? If it wasn't for my daughter's mother, I can trace it back. If my daughter's mother hadn't left me, I never would have ended up working out and taking steroids and dancing. If I never ended up dancing, I wouldn't have met the first, what I thought was a mentor in my life, because I met him actually at the strip club.
Yeah.
He was driving my dream car, which was an Audi TT.
Okay.
2-seater convertible roadster. And it was almost like Will Smith in the movie. I got 2 questions. What do you do and how do you, right?
Yeah.
Long and short, this gentleman takes me under his wing and the next is history. I get into financial services. I get a license. I build a career, make $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year, up and onward. But jeopardized my relationship with my daughter.
Of course, yeah.
Bought her a horse. She didn't want a horse. She wanted her dad, right? Paid for people to pick her up from the barn, pick her up from school, everything else. When the money got to the point where I wasn't working like I was working, I had no relationship with her. So I went through all of that. It was the balance. I didn't have the balance. I find today, and a lot of people I talk to, they want 3 things in life. They either want more money more time, or more fulfillment in what they do. There's people that have a lot of money, they got no time. There's people that have a lot of time, they don't have any money. And if you're rare, find someone that's got money and time, they're either bored or they have no fulfillment in what they do. I think success is having all of it. You got some money, you got some time, you have fulfillment, but it's really the relationships. That's what I've learned in that year.
Yeah.
I want real, authentic relationships, and I think everybody wants the same.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So what was that like, having to rebuild or build for the first time kind of with your daughter? That relationship.
It was tough, and I can't even take credit for it. It was actually my wife. My wife and I have been married for 2 years now. We've been together for 5 years. We're a blended family, no children together. I'm 47, she's 49. So she's got a 27-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old. I have a 24-year-old. That's my oldest, my daughter.
Yeah.
And she just got married in September. She just finished her master's in physical therapy. I mean, she figured it all out without me being there. Because I lost her for pretty much from, I guess she would have been from 11. She was close to me, but then there was a point where she didn't have to go to dad's for the weekend.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to dad's for the weekend. And then that was that. When I got together with my now wife, and, you're discussing life and family, and, she, like, you have a daughter that you don't see? Like, that's kind of interesting. What's that all about? And shared that. And she kind of softened the relationship and built this kind of connection to the point where, rekindled that. It's still, kind of got its, but yeah. I mean, her and her husband were over at our house just on Friday night this week. I was at her wedding, where there was a point in time when I didn't think I was ever going to be at her wedding. God restored all of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's powerful. But I got a do-over with my daughter now, which is my youngest daughter. She's 8, from a different relationship, not with my wife. But it's learning from the mistakes of the past.
Yeah.
And especially now, causing me to want to be present with her. And I struggle with it because I'm a workaholic. I can't deny that. To pull a cell phone out of my hand, that's a tough thing. And but to realize that if I'm not careful, she'll grow up thinking my cell phone's more important than her, and she'll be in therapy till she's 30 talking about my daddy don't love me.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a responsibility, and responsibility is your ability to choose your response. That's what I've always said. Responsibility is your ability to choose your response. If someone says something that upsets you, your ability to respond and not react, that's your responsibility. So my responsibility is to be an example for her of hard work, but strive to show her balance and priorities and integrity, which is not so much ethics, values, and morals, but integrity, being your word. Say X, do X, right? We live in a world that says X and does Y. Integrity means nothing. People are like, yeah, okay, I'll be there. They don't even remember they told you that.
Yeah.
The minute you can lock down integrity, you stand out like a sore thumb, because we live in a world that's lost it. No one's word means anything anymore, whether it's in business or personal relationships. We live in a world where, I mean, social media, it's like a relationship's not working. Okay, scroll through like it's a menu, And I think people are searching and scrolling, and they're looking for happiness. They're looking for fulfillment, and they're just getting more and more anxious and depressed.
Wow. Yeah, that is true. Saying X and doing X. That was a hard thing for me coming up. Like, before I found like the thing I wanted to do, that was very hard. Before I started taking pride in like having discipline and like having mindset and like having good habits and everything. Yeah. But you know what changed for me? I actually looked up what the word meant, because I didn't know.
Which word?
Integrity.
Integrity.
I had no idea. I didn't actually know.
Interesting.
Like, I knew how to use it.
What is is there a definition? Like, what does it say?
Well, it was a while when I looked it up, because I have something called the Promise to the Universe that I keep in my wallet, and it's just this long list of characteristics, and I say that I'm all these things. I try to say it every day, every night. I say all these things, and I say that's my promise to the universe, that I'm going to be trustworthy and faithful and honorable and have integrity and be innovative and all these different things. But yeah, I had to look up the word actually before, because I actually had to move back here, like I told you. Yeah. The walls had all the definitions on them, because I would like write it in like crayon or like whatever I could, because I paint and do art and stuff. Yeah. And they're all over the place. But yeah, it's
powerful.
Yeah, Yeah, seeing those things
Yeah.
is very powerful.
Yeah.
That's why I have like the thing here. It says "Be who you are."
Yeah.
This thing over here, the difference between who you are and who you want to become is what you do.
Yeah.
So,
I used to tell people that the only thing that's stopping you from getting where you are, from getting where you want to go, from where you are, is the story you've created in your head of why you can't get there.
yeah,
Right? Like our stories, we believe them. Like they're rock solid. We've got every excuse of why we can't make something happen. You know, I built a lot of businesses where you got one person saying, I would love to build this business, but I have children. And I'm like, I want to pull out pictures of my children and go, what are these, chimpanzees? Like, what do you, it's like, they're my reason to the business. Don't use them as an excuse, use them as your reason. But that's just a choice. You know, that's a choice of saying, you know, I can't do it because of, when I need to do it because of, or I can't join this business because there's a starter fee and I don't have any money. Okay, so isn't that why you need to do the business? Don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to be condescending, but if you've been working for 10, 15, 20, 30 years and you don't have $152, maybe $300, $400, $500 to start a business that's going to change your life, is it possible maybe you need to do? You got to be careful when you say things, because
obviously.
But the truth of it is, if what you're doing has gotten you to where you're at, is continuing to do it ever going to give you your goals and dreams? No. So you're 30 years old. You're either going to submit that right now I'm done. Like, I'm dead at 30, bury me at 60 or 70, put a fork in me, I'm done. Or are you going to try and take some different actions that could cause you to have a different result in your life?
Yeah.
But it's just choices.
Yeah.
It's just choices. I had a mentor who said, life is simple. Make more good choices than bad choices. You'll be okay.
That's true.
Easier said than done. Easier said than done. So true.
So, I guess back to the vein of questioning, like, what does mindset mean to you?
Mindset is, again, choosing what you're focusing on. Because I remember hearing a speaker say, like, personal development, like, knowing how to read and choosing not to is, you're no better than someone that doesn't know how to read. And I remember when I first got into business and they'd talk about personal development, and my mentor at the time, he said, yeah, you got to read books. And I'm like, me no read. Right? I was like, yeah. He's like, what? I'm like, I don't like to read. And he's like, why don't you like to read? I said, because it makes me cry. And he said, what do you mean it makes you cry? I go, every time I read, I cry. He goes, you cry when you read? I go, yeah, profusely, can't stop. As soon as I start reading, I cry. He goes, what are you reading? I said, my bank book. Because at the time, it stressed me. But I'll tell you something's funny. You got a lot of viewers or people listening to this that know, they hear it all the time. You got to read. You got to read. And if I'll give them something that helped me, because in the beginning I hated to read. If you're a personality that you can't focus, I'll tell you why most people don't like to read. Tell me if you can relate to this, Colin. You start reading something, and as you're reading, something you read will trigger something in your mind, and your mind goes whoosh, off chasing birds.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, you're still reading the words, but you're not even there, right?
Yeah.
So at some point on the next page, maybe you get present to the fact that you don't even know what you're reading. So what do? You start sifting back to see what you remember. Oh, I remember reading this. So you start reading again.
Yeah.
And again, maybe at the same point or at a different point, something triggers something in your subconscious, whoosh, off chasing birds again.
Yeah.
You continue to read subconsciously until you get present that I'm not present, and you go back. That'll happen 2 or 3 times before you'll say, I can't read right now. I can't get my head wrapped around this. And you'll put the book down.
Yeah, definitely.
That happened to me until I read a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Oh, really?
And I can't remember who the author was, but it was a great point. And it said that human beings, we actually remember everything that's ever happened to us in our life. Every event, every name, every episode, every experience. We remember everything. But there's so much stuff that it gets buried in the subconscious until something triggers it.
Yeah, of course.
That's why, you could be driving down the street, a song comes on, and yeah, that was a song from high school. And you can remember like the smell of the gymnasium. You can remember having your hands too low on Sally's waist and the teacher coming saying hands up a little high, right? You can remember what you were wearing. You remember what she was wearing. You remember everything, but you can't remember what you did 2 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Subconscious, and it's buried. So the book said, when you're reading and your mind checks out, just keep reading. And even when you realize you haven't been present, don't stress about it. Just keep reading, because subconscious, you got everything. Just keep reading. And I started doing that, and I started reading books. And what happened was I remember a guy saying, if you empty the coins of your purse into your mind will fill your purse with coins. Meaning, if you read, you'll personally develop, you'll grow your belief about what's possible, what you're worth, how you should treat people. You can learn everything you need to learn to change your life. It's deciding to take the time to read. You got to think you're worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I decided to start reading probably around like November.
Okay.
Early November.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit before that. Because I decided to start waking up at 4 a.m.
Nice.
And just reading and doing stretches and taking walks and like just taking care of myself.
Yeah.
As soon as I realized self-worth,
Yeah.
I started taking care of myself more.
Yeah.
And that was the weird thing that changed too. Is like as soon as I figured out what I was worth, I started doing other things.
My wife and I started working out a while back at like these Orange Theories. And there's this one of the trainers, his name's Lennox. And he always at the end of the session says that self-care is self-love and it's never selfish.
Yeah.
And it's so true. If you honor yourself, your health, you honor your body, you honor your fitness, you're actually honoring yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about what you look like. It's like, this is my body, is a temple, all that stuff. And it's how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to care about yourself to even care.
Yeah, exactly. So I started doing that and I started reading and I didn't like it, but I didn't like it at first, but I read
the reading or the getting up at 4 a.m.
No, the getting up was fine.
Okay, yeah.
Like I come from a household watching my mom get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. She was a bodybuilder, so she used to wake up at 4 a.m., go to the gym for like 2 hours, come back home, shower up, go to work. So
that discipline, you saw your mom as an example of discipline.
Yeah. So one day I was like, I'm pretty sure I could do that too. I'm like
4 a.m.
I'm like, yeah.
Did we not have a conversation at one of the mornings early with voice notes? Was that at like 5, you and I?
Yeah, I think I saw something from you, but I
post
always,
in the morning.
Yeah, I always make my mornings for me. So I saw that I'm like, oh, he's getting after it at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can't like engage in that quite yet. I gotta handle myself.
You got to stay on your schedule, on your routine. It was a book I read called The Morning Miracle. I met a mentor online. His name's George Converse. And he's into online digital marketing, and he's got this limitless lifestyle. And he shows him and his wife traveling around anywhere if they got a laptop, as long as they have internet, and they just got this great life. And he told me about this Morning Miracle, this book by Hal Elrod is the name, and it talked about all these different principles that if you could get up earlier, and there's 6 different principles like journaling, reading, exercise, meditation, all this stuff, prayer, and that you do just 10 minutes of each of these practices. And I started doing it at 5 a.m. And then next thing you know, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. Next thing you know, I'm waking up 3:45 with no alarm clock. And I'm not getting tired during the day. But when you get up just in time for the snooze button, you hit that. And then we used to play the snooze button game. It's like you hit the snooze button. And I never understood snooze buttons, Colin. Do you ever understand why it's like you sleep 8 hours?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, it just end?
Get too engaged.
Oh, sorry. My bad. How do you do that now? You try and remember where it is? Because you edit all this stuff anyway, so you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It just happened. Like,
did
as soon
it?
as you hear the click, that's when you know it happened. So.
We were talking about, you getting up early in the morning, and I used to tell people about fighting with alarm clocks.
Yeah.
Right? That battle of, I used to call it's a mind over mattress in the morning. mind over mattress. But
that.
It was like, I never understood the snooze button because I'm like, man, we sleep 8 hours a night, but we think, 9 more minutes, I'll be okay. It's like, what is 9 minutes gonna, and why is it 9 anyways? I never figured that out. But I used to like have this whole game go on. It'd be like, okay, 9 more minutes, and then it'd go off again. I'm like, okay, if I don't have a shower, right? It's like I hit it again. It's like, okay, if I got every light green, and if I probably went that way, took the highway instead of okay, and I'd play this game. And I realized that the only reason I was playing the snooze button game is because I wasn't passionate or excited about what I was going to do.
Oh, of course.
The minute you're passionate, excited about what your passion will wake you up every morning.
Yeah.
Like excited and ready to hit the day. When I was in bed and depressed, that year that I just told you about, I drugged myself. I never did drugs. I never drank. But Netflix, let me tell you, I would watch a whole series and season of something and binge. I either wanted to sleep. Because when you're depressed, all you want to do is sleep, right? Because you don't have to think about it. That's the only time the mind would shut off. So I'd wake up and just want to sleep. If I didn't have to get up, I wouldn't want to get up. I didn't want to go out in public. I didn't want to do anything.
Yeah, I had that for a while too.
It's horrible.
Netflix didn't exist when I had that going on. So I watched this Chappelle show.
Oh,
season 2.
Season 2.
I watched it like at least 100 times.
You knew every line.
Yeah,
every
I
joke.
kept watching it, and you know what actually triggered for me at that point? I kept watching it, and then one day, I think I saw like a commercial or something for The Secret, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want that book. I'm like, because I just saw like a reel of it or something. I'm like, I want that. I want that DVD because it was a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how am I gonna get it? I'm like, I gotta rent it. I'm like, I don't have any money, but like for some reason I wanted it. I just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Because I started learning about subconscious, and I was like, if my subconscious is always on, I'm like, I'm just watching this Chappelle show over and over again. I'm like, I'm very funny because of it.
Yeah.
Soaking up something. But
it's
like,
just not paying my bills.
yeah. So I was like, I really want it. And then one day I was like, hey, Chris, my brother. I'm like, Chris, I'm like, you know anybody that has The Secret?
Yeah.
He's like, I have it.
Of course.
He's like, it's upstairs.
Yeah.
He's like, some girl gave it to me. He's like, but I'm not gonna watch it.
You never watched it.
He's like, I don't want to watch it. I was like, can I have it? He's like, yeah, sure. And then he just gives it to me.
Yeah.
I watched it every day, twice a day, because I knew about subconscious. So I'm like, I'm gonna play it while I'm asleep.
Repetition, mother of all skill.
I did that for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah. Was it cool when you start noticing things actually happening, and then you relate it to your energy and attracting it?
I still think of The Secret every time I get my parking spot that I want.
Yeah.
Because it always happens.
The parking fairy. You know, it's funny. You know, when I'm doing coaching with people, and I'll talk about, you know, how you feel. You know, they'll walk in a room at an event, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? They're like, fine. I'm like, do you want to let your face know? Like, because they're just their energy.
Yeah.
And it'll be people that'll tell you, I don't buy into that energy stuff, just like I don't believe in the law of attraction. I'm like, how do you not believe in it when you know everyone can't deny they've been in a room and someone's walked in that had good energy, and you feel it. You physically feel the lift.
Yep.
And you also have people that walk into a room and they can bring it down. Like, they come in like, and it's like, who invited Princess Stormcloud? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's energy. So people know that it exists, and it attracts like.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 100%. That's why I'm glad that I shifted my energy at such a young age. Even though it didn't take right away, it slowly improved my life. And I can see like the things that I took in all those years ago are like now starting to, I guess they were like seeds buried pretty deep, and like now they're starting to grow.
100%. You know, it's the first time I ever heard someone really dive deep in on the power of gratitude. I started thinking of it as a parent, and then spiritual beliefs come out again. So I start thinking of, I'm a father, I have children. If I give things to my children and they're not grateful for them, and they want to complain about them, and they want more, but they're not grateful for what I gave them, as a father, do I want to give them more? Or do I go, you're complaining about what I gave you, but you're asking for more? That's ungrateful. Yeah. So then I think about my father, and think about the things we could be blessed or grateful for in our life. But if we're not focused on those things, and we're focused on what we don't have as opposed to what we have, you know, like eyes, ears, breath in our lungs, you know, the things that are gifts, you know what I mean, every day. But when we're not thinking about them, we're focused on, I don't have enough money, I don't have the right relationship, I don't have the right job, I don't have all the things that we lack. We're focused on lack as opposed to abundance. So it's almost like, how can we expect our loving father to want to give us more when we're the ungrateful children going, we just want to complain? The minute you start being grateful, if your child is grateful, what do you want to do? You want to give them more.
Yeah.
Right? So it's there's all these examples of it. It's not like we don't know. I often feel like people often need to be reminded more often than they need to be instructed. Do you know what I mean? Like, we know, like when you go to church, or you go to, I shouldn't say church. I'm not really big on religion.
Yeah.
To be honest, I believe in a personal relationship with my Father, Jesus Christ and Savior, and all of that. But like the church, the walls and stuff, Todd tells me all the time, he's like, the walls, it's like putting God in a box. You know, you can't put God in a box. He's not like that. It doesn't work. But I think about all the examples that are out there that we could, like my dad used to say, if you wake up, I think he got it from Les Brown, if you wake up and there's not a chalk outline around your body, it's a beautiful day. Because there's a lot of people that didn't wake up today, right? Yeah. There's families that, I mean, it's Christmas right now, and there's people that are excited, but this is a tough season for people. There's people right now that tomorrow's Christmas Eve, but this is the first Christmas without a loved one because they lost someone this year.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, there's people celebrating. There's people that they didn't put a tree up this year because they don't want the reminder that dad was always the one that put the tree up, but dad's not here this year. Yeah. So we have to figure out how to move on without dad this year, or dad always put the star on the tree. And this year, mom put it on the tree, but she couldn't hold back the tears when she put it on the tree. And the kids had to watch that.
Yeah.
Yet it's Christmas. So it's so tough to put things in perspective when you're all about, your life. It's not about it. It's about making a difference for other people. And I figured that out in this year with my face in the mud is like, it's not about you, Rod. It's just not about you. So that's about it.
True. So, yeah, that's something I think about. I think of my brother more with that. Like I said, I have like step siblings and everything, and he was like best friends with my dad before he passed, and like he even found him like when he passed away because he was like in his apartment for like a week or so, and he found them like that because he realized that something was wrong because they would hang out like every weekend. They'd always call each other. So I always think of him when I think of that.
Older brother?
Yeah. He's older than me, and they were just like connected. He even told me the last thing he said before the last time he saw him, he was like, "It's you and me. It's you and me together." And I was like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. I'm
like, I never had like any deep connection with him like that, but like he did. So it must have been really hard the first Christmas around. Definitely.
It's fun as you're saying that about relationship and connection and with a parent. It's kind of interesting because it took me back. I had said earlier that my brother and sister were 9 and 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
Right. And I almost had to go to Barbados and then didn't have to go because the age gap, I could stay with them. And, you think about where our beliefs about ourselves come from and where things get rooted. And my brother and sister, as I said, were 9 and 10 years older than me. And I still remember like yesterday, the first time my brother, I was maybe 5, 6 years old. My brother said we were fighting about something. And I remember him saying, "You were an accident." I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, "An accident? What do you mean by that?" So I run up to my mom. I'm like, "Mom, Paul," that's my brother. I go, "Paul said I was an accident." And she goes, "You were not. You go tell your brother you were a pleasant surprise." And I'm like, I go marching down. I go, "Mom said I was a pleasant surprise." And I didn't know what that meant either.
Yeah, of course.
Till years later. But what was interesting is I was the baby of the family. So as I was growing up, I watched. Oh, you stop it?
I just had a battery die.
All right. Wait for you to change it.
Yeah, because I'm going to get in your way for a second.
Yeah, no worries. How we doing though? We all right?
Yeah, and you're good on time. I just got to ask some more questions about behavior and stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah.
With that story.
So growing up, like my brother and sister were older, so I was the baby of the family. So my oldest brother and sister had chores. My sister used to have to dust. Like my dad was a competitive weightlifter. My brother wrestled. Everyone's sports. My sister did track and field. Trophies all over the house. So on a Sunday after church, there was like we'd clean the house, or Saturday morning. So I'm downstairs watching cartoons, right? Back then, TV Guide. I'd have highlighted what I was going to watch at 7:30, 8 o'clock. The whole day was planned. I'm chilling. My brother had to do. He used to cut the lawn. He used to shovel the driveway. My sister used to do the dishes and dust the trophies. I didn't have any chores. I was the baby, right?
Me too.
And then growing up, so my mom and dad worked. My brother and sister took care of the house. I had nothing, no responsibilities. And they think about that, that'd be great. But what it led to was like when my mom and dad moved away, then my brother and sister took care of me. Then I got in a relationship. As I told you, I was a virgin till I was 19. She cooked and she took care of me, and we had a child together. Then we split up when she was 5 months old. And then when my daughter was a year old, I met a girl and I was with her for 10 years and she took care of me, and split up with her. And within like months, I had another girlfriend and she took care of me.
Wow.
And I've always had someone take. So I developed, without knowing what it was, codependence, where I was like literally dependent on, and then I get to the point, I'm now 47, and I'm like, I got a wife that some days gets to the point, during this year, she's like, it's really hard to be your lover when I'm too busy being your mother. And then something like that hits you. It's like, what do you mean? You know?
Wow.
And, but it was really having to grow up. Having to grow up and take responsibility for who do I want to be in this world? What do I want to be as an example for my daughter? What do I want to be as an example as a husband, as a leader in business? I can't be successful in business and be a horrible husband or a horrible father.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that think that they can. And what caused the demise, I'll be truthful of what I can now look back and see, the pride, the ego, all of that stuff. Eric Thomas says it best. You're familiar with Eric Thomas. I love Eric Thomas. And he says, if you're not careful, you can get good at something just from the repetition, that 10,000 hours, right? You put in the work, you will get good. You'll get confident and you'll get competent. And that'll come across to people that weren't willing to do the work as skill. Like you have skill. And he said, but if you're not careful, your skill will take you somewhere that your character can't keep you.
Yeah.
Meaning you'll get to a point where you're up there perceived success, but you're not honoring your wife, or you're not honoring your relationship with your God, or you're not honoring your relationship with your children. So are you really successful? Yet you're an example of success. It's only a matter of time before the worlds collide. I mean, it's got to happen.
That's actually very true.
It's got to happen.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you did say that. And that's what happened with your whole speaking career, I guess.
100%. I'd be on stages, and it wasn't authentic anyways. I mean, I remember the most people I ever spoke in front of was in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Atlanta, Georgia Dome. They used to get 60, 70,000 people at a convention. And I remember standing on stage and you're doing the hype, right? You're like, oh, any of you can do this. You can change your life. You can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going, any of you can do this. But in my heart of hearts, I'm going, but most of you won't.
Yeah.
So you feel like a fake. You're talking about how great life is to make $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month and buy your daughter a horse. And you got this lifestyle and da-da-da-da-da-da. But in your heart of hearts, you know that your girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time back then, she was packing her stuff up at least twice a week, talking about moving out and moving in with her mom because I'm working 70 hours a week. So
Wow.
There was no balance. There was no priorities. There was no, relationship with God at the time to keep me on track. It was just work, make money, appear successful so that people are impressed, so that they follow you, so you can make more money. And it was so superficial that until it was taken away, and I had a year to look at it, be depressed, but still feel like this has to be happening for a reason. There's got to be a reason this is happening. There has to be a reason. And then literally it was exactly a year, November to November. And then everything altered. Everything shifted. Like I said, it was like he said, okay, can you hear me now? I have I got a plan here. And all of your nonsense is slowing up the plan. Can we get back on track? And everything altered. My work, my business, my wife, my children, everything but health. I haven't got back to the gym yet, but that's coming.
Well, I mean, it's just not going to the gym is like not all health, right? Like you can still eat healthy and everything,
Nope.
right?
Don't even do that.
Wow.
I wish I'd be lying
Wow.
if I said I did.
Wow.
No, that's
Wow.
next. That's next. That's
You
a one piece.
You got to do that.
And
man.
I really do, because I was telling someone the other day, you watch people chase wealth, neglecting their health, but the problem is they're going to end up having to spend their wealth trying to regain their health. Either way.
You will pay.
Pay now, pay later.
Yeah.
What is to say?
Yeah, you got to do that, man.
They say in life you'll pay two prices, the price of discipline or the price of regret. And if you had a scale, the price of discipline would weigh ounces, but the price of regret would weigh tons. Either way, though, you're going to pay a price.
That's so true.
Either way, you're going to pay a price.
That's so true. I don't actually know how much time. Actually, I can check how much time we're at right now, actually. Let me check that.
Yeah.
Oh, we just passed an hour and a half. Wow. Okay. That's not bad. I thought we were a lot longer around.
Oh,
That's really good. So let me ask you something quick.
anything.
Just about behaviors, habits, more so behaviors. What behaviors, because we were just talking about like you had to grow up and everything, what behaviors did you have to instill in yourself to get to the point you're at now of being more successful and everything just opening up for you?
After the fall?
Yeah.
the 100%, it was authenticity, number one. Being vulnerable would be the biggest two. My relationship with God is on a level I know that it's real because the habitual addiction that I spoke of.
Yeah.
You don't even know how many times started. But the minute this change happened, it's been effortless. But I was efforting trying to stop.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like I was feeling like it was in my strength. You know, like you'll hear people say, work like it's up to you, but pray like it's up to God, right? Or you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. It's so interesting when I look at it now, how clear it is. But when I was in it, I couldn't see through it. So you asked what were the habits or behaviors? It was just getting real, just becoming real. So when I start talking to people and not having this air of I've got it all put together. Most people don't have it put together. Everyone pretends they have it put together.
Of course.
Because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived by other people. We're so deathly afraid of what other people are going to think.
Yep.
But the minute you find the courage to be transparent or vulnerable and take the mask off and go, this is who I am. I was a jerk. I was full of pride. I was full of ego, and I was thinking I was better than people. I know my heart was to inspire them to follow me so they could have a better life, but that's not what they heard. And when it was all taken away and you're humbled and you're like, I'm no different than you, right? What I chose to do with my life was different. So I got some different results and some financial success, but I wasn't a good steward of it. So it was taken away, and here I am again. But what's good is knowing what it takes to get there. And all it takes is doing what most people won't be willing to do. Getting up early. That's a discipline. Whether it's no different in health and wellness or fitness. You got to do what most people aren't willing to do. You got to sacrifice some things, right? You got to get uncomfortable. You got to take action. So success isn't, to become successful, a lot of people think it's really hard. It's really changing a handful of habits. Like, we are a product of our habits.
Yeah.
But you think about, there's successful people in the world. So they leave clues. If you emulate what successful people do, you will become successful. So if I want to be successful in my marriage, I have to put the work in and emulate people that have successful marriages, and then study them. And what do you find? Oh, they have open communication. They have trust. They have respect for each other. It's not rocket science.
True.
But implementing or applying what you learn, that's up to you.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
When it comes to relationships, I study Eric Thomas, his wife, Dee
Dee.
And
they've been together like years before the fame.
Yeah.
I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Way before the fame.
Yeah.
She saw something in him. That's why I like my girlfriend so much.
Yeah.
I'm at this point of all this, and she's still like really with me.
Yeah.
So I know that's going to be like a story down the line.
100%.
How she like stuck through all this.
You know,
that I'm going through.
It's funny, we're talking relationships, and I think God has a sense of humor. I really do. I mean, you think about relationships for a second, and men and women are wired differently. I don't know if that's been my experience, right?
Of course.
And we're both perfectly imperfect, but it's almost like we have two different kind of perceptions when we look at reality. Men are like, okay, I love her the way I found her. Don't lose a pound. Don't gain a pound. Don't cut your hair. Don't grow your hair. Don't stay just as I found you, right? And then women are on the other end going, he's perfect. I just need to change this, and this. Yeah. And it's like we both have this kind of, it's almost like God was sitting up there one day and he was bored and he goes, you know what would be fun? Put men and women together. Make them completely opposite.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's funny you hear opposites attract, and my wife and I are complete opposites. There's a book called Personality Plus, and studying personalities and temperaments, and it breaks up people into four: melancholy, choleric, phlegmatic, and sanguine. These are these four personality types. Neither here nor there right now, but my wife and I are complete opposites. She is very structured, organized, detailed. Like, if she looked at a poster on a wall, if it was crooked, she can't even focus. Like, everything's got to be exact. Shoes need to be lined up side by side. If you look in the coffee cupboard, the coffee handles look like she symmetrically measured the handles so they're each like that.
Yeah.
I'm absolute mess. Like no organization. I'm like, go. Someone clean that up behind me, right?
Yeah.
Always late. She can't be late. Love high energy. She's very guarded, very gonna analyze and study, and got the walls up. And
yeah, you were saying
we're
that.
complete opposites. And in relationships, sometimes it's funny. People will be like, when they're struggling, they'll be like, man, I need to find someone more like me. And they'll consider leaving a relationship to get with someone like themselves. So think of someone that's like totally self-absorbed. They're all about themselves. And their wife is not like that at all. Their wife's very conservative, very reserved, and they're complete opposites. That person that's like all self-absorbed, all about them, thinking they want like this, maybe, this person that's just like them. Yeah. Now you got two people that are both self-absorbed, all about themselves. That won't work.
Yeah, of course not.
That won't work. And so there'll be the conflict. It's actually true when they say opposites attract, because you complement each other. Remember in Jerry Maguire, you complete me, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very true. My wife is my life. And when I started to, literally, I'm talking a month that I've been like waking up every morning at 4, but I'm like making sure like the dogs, we have 3 dogs. They sleep in the bed with us. That's her. So I'm up at 4 and I'm downstairs in the living room, and I get up and I read scripture and I read my Proverbs every day, because there's 31 Proverbs. So it's very simple. Just whatever day of the week it is, you just correspond it with that. And I read my daily bread for a half hour, and then I read my personal development book, and then I do some YouTube motivation stuff. But as soon as my wife wakes up, the dogs jump off the bed and I hear boop, boop, the little feet hit the floor.
Yeah,
and she goes to the bathroom, and then they all come down. So as soon as I hear that boop, boop, they jump off the bed. I put my book down. I go to the sliding door out to the backyard. I open it, because the dogs, as soon as they come down, they go straight outside. But if the door's not open, they jump up and they bang and they bark at the door, and that irritates her.
Yeah.
But it was when I started realizing, Rod, life's not about you. You got to serve others and think of others first and be others focused. All of these things started altering. Like, how can I make life easier for my wife?
Yeah.
And everything changed. So I put the coffee on. As soon as she wakes up, I open the door to the dogs go out. I go over and I make her coffee. By the time she comes down, I'm standing there with a coffee for her. Mm-hmm. It's little things like that.
Yeah.
But it's not that she needs a coffee. It's that she can now see I'm thinking about her first.
Yeah. Everything
Everything alters.
Of course.
Your whole world changes. And it's like happy wife, happy life, right? Mm-hmm. If mama's not happy, nobody's happy. So it changed the dynamic in the whole house with the kids, with just everything. And it's a little thing.
Yeah,
it's a little thing. It's crazy.
I like that. I like that a lot. I try to, we don't live together yet, but when we do, I'm going to try and do stuff like that, because we are quite opposite. I'm very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
I'll start things like this. I'll do all sorts of stuff. She's very like 9 to 5.
Yes, that's my wife.
Yeah, she's like a manager, and like, she's very.
And those are two different worlds.
Yeah, it's so different.
Two different worlds. My wife, she's an EA with special needs kids with the Catholic school board. So she works with like kids with autism, Tourette's, and Down syndrome, and all of that. And it's that job, she's very safety, security conscious. Yeah. Well, an entrepreneur is a risk taker. So those are two complete. But truthfully, they want the same thing. The job mentality wants the safety and the security, the guaranteed paycheck and the pension and the benefits. The entrepreneur wants the safety and the security of, I'm going to determine that financial independence is only available if I have, like, I got to get overpaid. Yeah. Jobs don't overpay people. Yeah, businesses overpay people. You have leverage, you have something that you can scale and grow to be overpaid. Yeah. But truthfully, we both want the same things, safety and security, but we think working for myself is safety and security, because if they can give me a paycheck, they can give me a pink slip. Yeah, exactly. But her mindset is, no, the guaranteed paycheck. Yeah. Safe, secure.
Yeah, it's weird, because like, even though she is like that, I do see like, I'm like if she was, I'm like you could start a business. I'm like, you could be like an event planner. I'm like, you could go do this, like you can do that.
It doesn't work. It doesn't land for
like
her.
$20,000.
Yeah.
For like one gig. She's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I plant seeds. My wife used to compete in fitness. Okay. OPA, and it's interesting because so I see her on stage, winning, first place and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, so now transfer that into like online, and you can have people, because I'm always thinking of ways to monetize passion, turn your passion into profit. Yeah. Right? Because then it's not work. So whatever, I don't care what you're passionate about. If you can figure a way to monetize and turn your passion into profit, to me, you'll be happy. But it doesn't work like that for her.
Because the stress of it. Because there's a process.
Well, there's
right?
no guarantee. There's the work. Yeah. The process in the beginning. But it's funny when I think about businesses that I've built, and in the beginning, it's almost like in a job, you know, and I don't knock jobs anymore. I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I do not knock jobs anymore. I have one now during the day. I love it. But I used to make fun. I used to go, okay, in a job, you work, you get paid, you work, you get paid, and you continue to work in order to get paid. When does that end? It doesn't. When you die, right?
Yeah.
But in a business, it's almost like you work and you work and you work and you work and you get paid. And then you work and you work and you work and you get paid. And then you work and you work and you get paid. Then you work and you get paid. And then you just get paid. So in the beginning, you feel like you're undercompensated for your efforts.
Yeah, of course.
Because in a job, you're trading time for money. Work an hour, get paid an hour. Work a week, get paid a week. You're trading time for money. In a business, you're not trading time for money. You're trading maybe concepts and ideas for money, or service or product for money. It's a completely different world.
Of course.
But in the beginning, you feel like you're undercompensated for your efforts, because your brain is still thinking about the time that I'm putting in. And if you're a job mentality thinking, you're thinking of a job, which is I'm working this many hours, I should get paid this much. But in a business, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're disgustingly overpaid for your efforts.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to go through that.
Mm.
Not everybody can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? And that's actually a good point that you bring that up, because what I really want from this whole podcast that I'm doing is I want people who are working 9 to 5s who like really feel like they can move out of that, or like are inspired to. I want to show them that there is a way. But I guess there is a
process.
There's a process, but also I guess there is a warning that like it isn't for everybody.
It isn't for everybody. I will say that. And I caution people how they would do it. When I'm coaching people that have jobs, and then, you know, kind of coaching them on a side hustle, we'll call it a side hustle. I always say set kind of like a structure. And my structure is, first thing, you want 3 to 6 months of what's going to be an emergency fund. So whatever you make, and in jobs, let's say people make anywhere between $3 grand a month, $4 grand a month, $5 grand a month, or $6 grand a month. That's pretty much middle income, middle market.
Yeah.
Right. $3 grand a month to $6 grand a month. There's people that make more. There's people that make less. But let's call it 3, 4, 5, or 6. That's pretty broad brush.
Yeah.
Right. I say, so let's say you make $4 grand a month at your job. After tax, you take home $4 grand a month. So you're playing hide and seek for $1 grand a week somewhere. So 3 months of that, if you get into some side hustle, the money you start making, if you have a desire to become a full-time entrepreneur, the money you start making is not to go party and go think you're going to go change your lifestyle. If your goal is to leave that job, you need to bank every cent you make so that you have 3 months, so call it 12 grand, put away. So when you make that career change, if that's what you desire to do, it's a comfortable career change, because it's easy to make money when you don't need to make money. It's hard to make money when you need to make money. So when I coach people that are in like commission sales and they're like desperate, I'm like, that must be really hard to close business, because you're sitting there doing a presentation. You think you're killing it because you know your product or you know your service. You're doing your presentation, and the person on the other side of the counter is sitting there going, what's that smell? What do you mean? You smell that? No. What do you smell? Smells like desperation. And it's nothing you say. It's your energy, because you're trying to do a presentation and the subconscious is going, oh man, the hydro's going to get cut off, and man, the rent's 2 months behind, or the mortgage is. All of that is going on in your space. Your energy. People don't buy products and services. People buy you. If they like you and they trust you, they're going to do business with you.
It's true.
So I do a lot of coaching with people that are in business like sales, but they're depressed. It's very hard to sell when you're depressed.
Yeah. It's hard to do anything.
It's hard to do anything when you're depressed.
Sometimes
of course.
You can't even get out of bed.
You're attracting that energy.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, I guess yeah. You know what? I will take that back. Then anybody can do it if you have the desire to do it, as you brought up before, and also if you have the proper cushion or proper prep before you make that jump. Yeah. Because for me, I did have a bit of a cushion. I was provided a cushion from somebody like out of nowhere, and I was like, what the fuck?
Mm.
It was very weird. It was very weird the way things happened.
Yeah.
I get you two wouldn't call it weird. You call it divine intervention the way it happened. But yeah, I got that cushion, and it made it a lot easier to learn all the skills that I know now.
Yeah.
Like, a lot easier. So I guess that's what people need the most of is prep and a cushion to get it started.
Yeah.
But I guess let's talk more about what else can we touch on right now? You know what? You keep talking about the businesses, right? And these business opportunities. And basically this is like I can't really brand it as like what, like this is like affiliate marketing that you're doing. Like what kind of businesses are these?
Well, I got my start in business in the MLM network marketing world. So I mean, I started in Amway. I spent 5 years with Amway. Then Melaleuca was a company I worked with. Then Quorum Alarms. Then New Skin. Then Party Light. And these were all great companies. Wow. I never made any money in any of them, but I learned a lot. I mean, I spent a decade from 1993 to 2003. I was in a bunch of different companies.
Wow.
I spent more money than I made. I really did. And I thought I was failing. But it wasn't until I ended up in financial services in 2004 that I realized everything I learned in those 10 years, a decade of trying to build businesses. Yeah. It was my boot camp. It was my 10,000 hours. It was my reading books and personal development and listening to, well, they were tapes back then, but CDs, and like just growing my belief about what I thought I was worth, because you're constantly listening to people that are successful telling you that it's possible. So you get the belief that it's possible. Wow. So that's what it was. It was MLM network marketing. And I'm very passionate about that industry. My heart goes out to a lot of people that are in it because it's not easy. And there's a lot of people that get kind of taken into these things because they're real good. Once you get good at whatever the business is and you get some success, and then they put you up on a stage and you're smooth, you're slick. I mean, you can pitch it and you can make it sound so good, and people are hurting, right? So the people that are there and someone's going, you can do this. I believe in you. I will work with you. And you're looking for a savior, you know, because you hate your job. It's not paying you enough. You're struggling, and they're up there making it sound like, you know, if you have enough room on your credit card for our starter kit and the monthly auto ship, we're going to make you rich. And that's just not the case. If they're not going to be willing to put in the work, there's no such thing as get rich quick, right? There's no such thing. But a lot of these companies I've seen, and I'll never call names because there's good people in all of them and there's not good people in all of them. So it's not the company. They're all good companies. They're all opportunities. But here's the thing. For most of them, the people that get involved in them, they're not entrepreneurial minded. Not everyone's entrepreneurial minded, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But if you're not going to be willing to do personal development to grow your belief about what you think you're worth, you're not going to be willing to turn off reality TV and go to some meetings and some trainings and personally develop, you're not going to be willing to do the work, you're not going to be willing to change, you can't expect a different life if you're not willing to become a different person. And they make it sometimes sound like you can just sign up and the money truck's going to back up and dump money on your lawn, and that's just not the case. Wow. Not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is very well. I mean, I've only been involved in one, and I just kind of like made my money back, and I was like, I don't really want to do this anyway. Like I was entrepreneurial minded, but like what I was doing wasn't the thing. Yeah, that's how.
On that point though, like, because I know you're gonna have lots of listeners listening to this. For most people though, it is the number one way or the only shot at financial independence, because to become financially independent, you do have to be, you know, like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about being an employee, self-employed business owner, or an investor. And for most people, MLM network marketing is the best option because there's a system already in place. There's a product or a service. There's leadership, and leadership is everything. Like people that try to become self-employed and do their own thing, sometimes MLMs are great because at least the support and the encouragement of strong leaders. Like I always say to people, show me anything that's successful, anything that's working. You can show me a successful sports franchise, a successful business, a successful church. I don't care if it's Boy Scouts or Girl Guides. You show me anything that's successful, I'll show you somewhere in the midst there's a leader at work.
Yeah.
Always. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So when I think about these businesses, for most average ordinary people, when I started in MLM network marketing, most businesses, you got accounts payable, you got accounts receivable, you got overhead, you got inventory, you got startup costs, you got all these things, which is why most businesses, 95% of them are going to fail. The 5 that make it, it's years before they see a profit. And then you get people that aren't entrepreneurial minded come out to an event or an opportunity meeting for a company, and it's going to be 300 or 500 or 1,000 to start. And they're like, I don't know. With no overhead, no inventory, no accounts receivable, no accounts payable, like a business in a box, it's actually a great opportunity for someone to have a shot. But most people aren't predisposed to opportunity. It's almost like, are you familiar with Ray Kroc? Do you know who Ray Kroc is?
Ray Kroc? No, I haven't heard.
He's the founder of McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
And I share this story often because I grew up working at McDonald's. It was my first job. I started August the 4th, 1986 at 4 o'clock on the fry station. Minimum wage was $3.15 an hour.
Wow.
So I'm probably dating my age, but
I was like 4 months old.
You were 4 months old. Thanks for sharing that. But it was the best training. I tell people everybody should have your children work. Discipline and everything else. It's a great, great place to work. But the Ray Kroc story speaks about entrepreneurial minded versus job mentality mind. And a lot of people, you think about this for a second. In the 60s, Ray Kroc was the founder of McDonald's. And he used to rent hotels and he would do presentations about McDonald's opportunity, McDonald's franchise. And you could buy one of these McDonald's franchises, Colin, for $860 US. And he would, now watch this now, he would do presentations about the fries are going to be like this and the milkshakes and the burgers and the uniforms. He'd do it all up. He'd do these presentations. And you got to change that?
No.
This story is crazy because here you got to think about this. People would sit in those meetings, average, ordinary people, jobs, and he's selling them on the vision of owning a McDonald's franchise. $860 US. People would leave those meetings, Colin, go out in the parking lot, and they'd say to their husband or wife, if that guy thinks I want to shake French fries and flip burgers for the rest of my life, he's crazy.
Wow.
Could you imagine? Think about those people today. They might be in their late 60s, 70s. Could you imagine? How frequently would they be reminded of their closed-mindedness? Could you imagine? Like every block. Could you imagine they're driving in the car? They got the grandkids in the back. Grandma, Grandpa, can we go to McDonald's? Shut up! You know? They'd be like, we're going to Wendy's, you know?
Wow.
Because they're not predisposed.
That's crazy.
To an opportunity. So I have friends that are in MLM network marketing and they're out there trying to pitch it to people that are just not predisposed to an opportunity. It's only a small percentage of people that are entrepreneurial minded, you know, and for most of them, if they're not making enough money to cover their monthly auto ship within 30, 60, 90 days, they're done. So there's this huge attrition, very low retention. And that's why I'm passionate about coaching people in that genre, in MLM and network marketing, because every one of them can win because the system's in place and there is somebody making money in all of them.
Go ahead.
Yep. So all they have to do is commit that they're going to be coachable and walk in the footsteps of someone that's already done what it is that they need to do to become successful in that. Pick a product, pick a service that you're passionate about, or else it won't be authentic, and follow what someone is doing that's already successful. You'll be successful. But everyone's always like, leader says, here's what you need to do to be successful in our business. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, all the way to step 10. You know what people do? They go, step 1 and 2 look good. 3's not bad, but I ain't doing number 4. And they think they're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
That's actually one of the reasons I took up reading, because like there's so many billionaires that I study.
Yeah.
And there's so many millionaires that I study, and there's so many successful people that I'm always like taking in what they say.
They always talk about reading.
And I'm always like, yeah, I'm just not gonna read. I'll do everything else.
I'll be successful without reading. I'll show them.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'll just do everything else. Fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to follow the process.
Yeah.
You need to trust the process.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember as building teams back years ago, and I had one perceived leader, and he didn't want to go to the meetings. And I'm like, okay, help me understand this. Help me understand this. You don't want to go to the meetings. He goes, I can be a leader without going to those meetings. You know, those meetings, all that rah-rah, I don't really need that stuff. I said, that's as silly as the guy that sits on the bench at the football game and says, you know, I don't really need one of those helmet thingies.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's right. If he's sitting on the bench, he doesn't need a helmet thingy. If he's out in the field and he's playing, he needs a helmet thingy.
Yeah.
So this leader was sitting back. He wasn't actually out there doing what the activities. He was sitting back thinking, I'm just going to collect what are called overrides on my team. So he wasn't engaged in the game, which means he's not taking the hits, which means he's right. He doesn't need a helmet thingy.
Yeah.
Because the meetings and the trainings was the motivation and the inspiration that grew your belief so you could stand up to the hits and the negative and the doubters and the naysayers, all of that stuff. For someone that's engaged, it rolls off your like water on a duck's back.
Yeah.
But if you're not engaged, you're not taking any hits, you're not out there trying, you can just sit in your bubble going, I can be successful whenever I want. All I got to do is make a decision.
Yeah.
But they don't. They just never do.
Yeah. Why don't people make that decision?
Fear. Fear of failure. For some, fear of success. Fear of failure is the biggest one. You know, we've failed before, obviously, and it's that pain again. I don't ever want to feel that pain again. So they don't want to take actions that could put them in a predicament where they could experience that pain again. So they won't even take the actions. It's all fear, 100% fear. And the fear comes from worrying about what other people are going to think. And I've coached a lot of people. I'm like, how do I get you to be more fearful of not changing and remaining the same? See, because there's always going to be a fear. There's a fear of change or a fear of remaining the same. And whichever one's greater is going to win. Yep. So if my fear of remaining in life where I am right now, right, if that is greater than the fear of getting uncomfortable to take some different actions to get a different result, I'm not going to take those actions to get a different result because the fear of staying the same is greater, which will cause me to take those actions. It's which fear is bigger. You're either afraid to stay the same or you're afraid to make the change. Yeah. Either way is fear. But which one's bigger? That'll cause what's going to happen.
Fear.
False evidence appearing real.
Oh, wow.
That's
I like
fear.
That.
That's fear. It's not real.
Should make that into a shirt.
Do you know fear and faith can't exist in the same body, in the same mind?
That's 100% true.
You can't, if you have faith, how can you have fear?
Yeah.
So if you're fearful, it just means in that moment you're choosing not to have faith because you can't have both.
Yeah. I've learned that. I've been learning that a lot recently.
It's the same with, I watch people that are wanting to become successful in business. They want to become financially independent. They want to become financially prosperous, but they have a scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. The biggest one, and I used to be in the space where I see a lot of leaders, they're in maybe a business and someone will leave their team and go to another company. And all of a sudden they'll have a meeting with their team going, okay, Sally left. She's gone to XYZ company. Any of you that have her on Facebook, make sure you block her because she's going to want to take all your friends and she's going to poach all your people. And I'm like, how exactly do you believe you're going to become financially independent, which is thinking of abundance, but at the same time, you got a scarcity mindset, worried about Sally leaving. The reason Sally's leaving is because she didn't make any money, which means she didn't build any business. So she's not really probably an influencer that's going to take any people, number one. Number two, let go and let God.
Yeah.
He can't hold on tight. Go, no, but I want to become financially independent and there's this world of abundance, but let me hang on to this little piece. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. I always find these interviews end up being quite the mirror for like what I need to hear. It's like free little therapy sessions from successful people that I get.
That's awesome. That's good.
But yeah, you're completely right about that. I experienced that
funny.
Exact same thing.
It's so funny you just mentioned therapy sessions. We used to have in the business, like we built some large teams, like to the tune of growing by 80 to 100 people a month. One company I was building, we grew by 80 to 100 people a month.
Really?
For almost a decade. But it was in financial services. So they had to get a license, pass a test. And we would license maybe 15 to 20 people, some months 10 to 15 people out of 80 to 100. And we were like the number one licensing team in all of Canada, but we were licensing 10, 15 or 20 people a month, which is huge. But you got to remember, that's 80 people a month that are upset and ticked off, that are running around saying it's a scam, it's a pyramid, it's a cult, only you make money, and blah, 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 all this negative.
Yeah.
But most of the people were only there for free therapy. Like you said, therapy. They were there for the warm hugs and high fives and the rah, rah, la, la, la. But they weren't willing to do anything to go change their life. They just felt good. They're like, I like coming here. I just feel good. Wouldn't you feel better if you made some money?
Yeah.
But no, just here to just tell me I can do it. But you're not doing it. I know, but just tell me again I can. And that
shows a lot,
tough.
right?
It was hard.
Because, that shows that people are just like looking for somebody to really
100%.
just push them in that way.
100%.
And then like it's maybe it's not that they never will, but they're so low on the scale of being entrepreneurial minded or taking that step that every time that they hear that, it builds them up a bit. Just like you were saying, you had 10
100%.
years of that, and that really like pushed you.
It really comes down to, I mean, it's the same in like personal training. I have a friend, Nina. She was a personal trainer, fitness competitor. My wife's done it, fitness and personal training. And you think about it logically, everybody knows if you get sleep, you eat well, and you exercise, you're going to be in shape. It's not rocket science. We all know this.
It's really
But
not.
do we all do this? No. Why? We need someone to tell us we can do it so we can believe in it.
Yeah.
We need someone to encourage us. We need someone to inspire us. We need someone to hold us accountable, right? We can't do that on our own. But it's the same in business. There's success principles. You could go read them in a book. There's millions of books, right? If self-help books worked, you'd only need one. Why do we keep writing them? The Bible was written. It was the greatest self-help book. We didn't actually need any other books, but there's all these books. There's people making a living on self-help books. The reason they're making a living on them is because they can rewrite another book. The person hasn't read the first one. They thought it was a self-help book, but it's at home on the shelf, so it's a shelf-help book.
Yeah.
They're not reading it. And if they read it, they don't apply it.
You know how many times I've told people, I'm like, oh, Tony Robbins. Like, he basically says what Jim Rohn says. And they're like, who's Jim Rohn?
They've never heard of Jim Rohn.
I'm like, oh, that's why.
Wow.
I'm like, and then like he's basically saying what Napoleon Hill's saying.
Yeah.
And they're like, who's that?
Who's that?
And I'm like, he's basically saying what Earl Nightingale
said, yes.
And they're like,
the
wait
the greatest secret. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of it's so interesting that it all kind of, comes through. And it's funny with social media now too, because I kind of been watching, kind of got kind of wrapped up in that, and I watch all these what are called influencers now.
Of course.
And but there's, again, back to authenticity. I mean, there's green screens and people standing in front of beaches, and I'm in front of my house right now, and they're living in their parents' basement.
Yeah.
Talking about financial prosperity and this and that, and you can have it all. And there's more life coaches out there that are 22 years old. I'm like, well, life coach, don't you have to have life experience? And I'm not trying to be critical, but at some point you got to go, how are you going to be a life coach at 22?
Yeah, that's right. And you should be critical of it, I think.
It's how?
I don't know. I've watched so many of these people, like I just said, all those people that I mentioned. And you have to have more experience.
100%.
You just do.
Well, you're coaching from your experience to give a perspective.
Yeah.
So I think about how many people I've coached over the years, but I know my 2019 season of coaching is going to be like nothing I've ever done before. Of
course.
Because it's coming from a place of humility. It's coming from a place of relatability. It's coming from a place of transparency, authenticity. It's coming from a place that I've never been before.
Exactly.
But I'm 47 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why when I said I was listening to David Goggins when you came in, when you listen to David Goggins' story, like right now, he doesn't consider himself a coach, but like for me, listening to him, he's like a mindset coach.
Yeah.
And it's because he's had a very traumatic life, his early life. Then he became a Navy SEAL. So become a Navy SEAL.
Bald head guy? Yeah.
Very ripped.
He says, I heard the N-word more times than...
Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah.
He's powerful.
Yeah, because he grew up in the Midwest.
What's his name?
Right? David Goggins.
Yeah, Navy SEALs.
Yeah, he had to go through the training 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
It's the hardest training in the world. He had to go through it
Three times.
three different times.
Yeah. I was listening to him a couple weeks ago. He's powerful.
Yeah, when you listen to like everything that he talks about, you're like, okay, this guy has like a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
Like, this is different. He's been on the battlefield. He's seen people get killed.
Yeah.
He's had to see all sorts of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So when you see like these 22-year-olds, and I've been watching now because I myself want to become a coach.
Yeah.
In terms of like high performance and mindset.
Yeah.
And when I started adding a lot of coaches to see what they do, because that's what I do. I really like investigate things when I get into it. And I saw a lot of different coaches, and I was like, I'm like, this doesn't make. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, and then a lot of them were like, and no offense to any women that are very hot, but a lot of them were like hot women that were just like posting certain things, and I was like, this is very. I'm like, I'm not understanding. I'm not seeing the congruency. Towards like what you're talking
what
about.
your message is.
Yeah.
And who you are.
Yeah, the messaging is odd. Yeah. But when I see David Goggins, I'm like,
there's
the messaging.
It's real.
The real.
Yeah.
The authenticness.
And when you take that approach, you stand out like crazy because people are so used to it all being this way. And then all of a sudden you're authentic. And it's like, it hit me the other day. I was telling Todd, I got a lot of things have been happening this last month, like that are just unexplainable. Like I said, things are happening and shifting and aligning almost effortlessly. But what's crazier is things that are coming out of my mouth that I don't recognize.
Yeah.
Right? Like I got a call last week and it was to do a speaking engagement, and it's for at-risk teens. I think I might have been telling you about this.
You told me.
And he said, I'd like you to, would you be interested in speaking a speaking engagement? And I said, oh, okay, tell me more. He said, yeah, it's an event we're having for at-risk teens, and we would love to have you speak. I said, at-risk teens? I've never spoke for at-risk teens. I said, I would love to speak for at-risk teens. I said, as long as you promise not to pay me. And I literally, Colin, it came out of my mouth, and I was like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
It was the weirdest. I got chills, and I was like, but it felt so good. It felt so good because I'm like, you're telling me you're trying to put something together to help at-risk teens, and I'm sitting here thinking about the year that I just had, about being humbled and ego and all the money that I made. And there was a period of time that I had 2 Lexus SUVs in my driveway. Mine was $1,700 a month, and my girlfriend's at the time was $800 a month. So we had $3,000 a month in car payments before gas or insurance on those 2 vehicles. $3,000.
Yeah.
But if you're making 30, 40, 50 grand a month, you don't think about it. But there's no need for that.
No, not at all.
There's no need for that. And so now God says, okay, takes everything away. And can you hear me now? I'm going to 10x it for you. But do you think no matter what I make in the future, I would ever need $3,000 in car payments? I got a Ford Explorer out there right now. I will drive that into the ground. I don't care what I make. For what? To impress people to follow me? That's what my mindset was in all these years, was make as much money as you could so you can impress broke people to follow you so you can build your business. That wasn't what I was saying, but that's in essence what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's not real. And go figure, God puts me in now an affiliate marketing thing, an affiliate marketing play where I can educate people around the world online how to get out of debt. And it teaches financial concepts about being fiscally responsible, living within your means, not impulse shopping, delayed gratification, not having status, getting out of debt, not paying, using credit card. All of that stuff is now where God's put me to now coach people. And I'll be able to use my own testimony about what success and status was versus humility and financial literacy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did this happen? How did this happen? It's not me.
Wow.
It's not me.
So, where can people find you, or like, what do you have going on right now that you want people to know about? I just like to do that before I ask the last question.
Facebook is the easiest. Definitely Facebook. I do a lot of connecting and coaching through Facebook. Learning Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't even have a Twitter account. Don't have a LinkedIn account. That's all being set up right now. I've put some people in place that know more about that stuff than me. So Facebook is the main. Literally today launched a public figure page for some of the projects that we're working on now.
On Facebook?
On Facebook. It's a public figure page. Rod Norville. It's just the name, Rod Norville. and doing some of that kind of coaching and mentoring around the world. But it's a lot of it's, you know, around my background. My passion is financial services, because finances is killing people. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It really is. And I tell people, like, that's why they go together. I'm passionate about helping people become entrepreneurial, because I believe you should have a supplemental income, right? Because if have your job, that's great. Have your job. But in the event of a layoff or downsizing, or just the cost of living going up, but your job doesn't pay you an increase to stay up with that, you know, you got kids and everything else. And it's just, it's crazy to me that people today don't have a second source of income, when there's so many opportunities with social media and online digital marketing. And there's so many different things you can do. If you have a Facebook account, an Instagram account, a Twitter account, all these, that's access to reach people. Yeah. So now you just got to find a product or a service that you're passionate about and be able to offer value that's higher than price. I always say, people go, well, should I price it? I go, price is irrelevant. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. If I said to you, Colin, that's a nice, I like that sweater, I like that top, bro. I mean, is that the most expensive top you could have bought? No. Is that the least expensive top you could have bought? No. What you want to believe as a consumer, which everybody is that you got the best value for the money you spent for that top. True or false? Yeah, definitely. So anything you put together today, product or service, you just have to have the value exceed the cost or the price. And because of social media, you have access to a worldwide market that you can promote your product or service to. Mm-hmm. And the challenge in business isn't knowing your product or service. Anyone with some time committed to learning a product or service, you can learn a product or service. The challenge is having an unlimited number of people to expose your product or service to. Unlimited, exponential potential clients or customers. Yeah. But there's avenues on social media to create that. There's Facebook ads and posting and all these different things. And there's people that will teach you how to do it and to leverage networks. And there's all of this stuff. It's almost impossible to fail unless you're not willing to search out the information. The information's out there. It really is. So I'm passionate about helping people understand. First, I just want to know, is there things in your life that you want that you can't achieve doing what you're currently doing? And if they go, no, okay. I'm not begging somebody to say, please let me make you successful. Please, please, please let me. I figured out in life there's a couple things you can't do. You can't nail Jell-O to a wall. Have you ever tried that? You can't nail. You cannot nail Jell-O to a wall. You cannot push a rope. It'll coil up on you. Yeah, of course. The third thing you can't do is you cannot make someone want to be an entrepreneur and make them successful if they don't want to be an entrepreneur or be successful. You cannot. You will drive yourself to drink. And there are people that are probably listening to this right now, and they are beating themselves up about their business isn't growing. And if they looked at most of the people they're sharing it with, they're not the people that they should be sharing it with. The people they should be sharing it with are on the other side of their paper, called their chicken list. But they're sharing it with people that they already, because of fear of failure and fear of rejection, they think that they're better than. It's all ego. So if I make $30 an hour and I have a side hustle, I'm willing to share it with someone that makes $25 an hour, because I'm like, I make 30, I'm doing this. And then the guy that gets in $25 an hour, he'll share it with someone that makes $20 an hour. And it keeps going. And eventually you have someone that's making $15 an hour, joins that business, and he's talking to the guy on the corner of the street downtown, homeless, holding a sign that says, I bet you can't hit me with a toonie. Yeah. And that's not a disrespect, because maybe there's circumstances that put that individual in that position. I'm going Christmas Day with a friend of mine, Edmund. It's my first time ever going down to feed homeless people downtown Toronto. I've never done it.
That's good.
I've never done it, but there was a time in my life where I would have thought about doing it so that I could take pictures of it to post it on Facebook. Wrong. Wrong.
Shouldn't do that.
You know, not at all. I'm not, I feel that now that I said that, I feel bad even sharing that I'm doing it, because now I'm thinking, well, why did you even say it? But I was just sharing because I was thinking about the principle of being of impact for others, or making a difference, or sharing, you're blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah. The difference between
for other people,
success and significance.
Huge. That's it right there.
Yeah.
I've achieved perceived success, but I wasn't really successful because my marriage wasn't what it should have been. My relationship with my family, my brother, sister, mom, my daughters wasn't what it should be. So you're not congruent.
Yeah.
You're not in alignment.
So the Facebook
Yep.
you have going on.
Yep.
That's Rod Norville.
Yep.
And that's all people have to look up there.
That's it.
And I guess the last question is for anybody who is about to start their journey, or they're just beginning their journey, or they're in the midst of it.
Yep.
And it's business. They've just decided to take the leap and
Yep.
like get rolling.
Yeah.
What would be your best advice to that person?
Only one. Find a mentor. Find a mentor. But when you find a mentor, make sure they're congruent, that what they say is who they are. What they say is who they are. I've had a few mentors in my life, and I believe intentions, and I believe everybody's good at heart. As a Christian, I've learned to judge the behavior, not the person.
Yeah.
Right? Because I believe we're all good, right? We're all children of God, but sometimes our actions and our behaviors aren't in alignment with who we truly are as a child of God, right? We'll take different actions based on whatever. And sometimes those could be like spiritual bondages or generational curses and all these things that are going on in this, in the spirit realm, right?
Yeah.
And people are they're under an influence, right?
Definitely.
So if I find a mentor, I want to make sure, like I have a mentor right now in my life. He's made $11 million in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's a God-fearing Christian. I've had mentors in my life before. And I'm not, listen, I talk a lot about God, and I always say I don't want to push my beliefs on people, but I'm sitting here and I have the mic, and I always say, when you get to sit here and you have the mic, if you believe in your cat Fluffy, you want to give all the praise and glory to cat Fluffy, you go ahead. But right now I'm sitting here. So that's my belief.
Yeah.
Right. So I always say to people, you get a mentor. You need a mentor no matter what. You need someone that has been that is where you want to go, that can show you what they did to get there. But I caution you if what they say is not who they are. So look at them inside the business and look at them outside the business. How do they treat their kids? How do they treat their wife? How do they treat their husband? How do they treat their team when they're not on the stage? Because there's a lot of podium talk. There's a lot of, fake it till you make it. A lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of hype, a lot of rah-rah. And I'm speaking of a certain world of business. But even if it's a self-employed business,
even companies,
like or traditional businesses, you still got to be able to find someone that's an example to follow.
Yeah.
Because you can't get somewhere you've never been if you don't know how to get there. You need a map. You need GPS. You need something to follow. That's a mentor.
So to that, because I've always been looking for a mentor. I have a lot of digital mentors because like I do so much research online.
Yep.
But how do you find a mentor? How do you go about doing that? How do you actually get that person as a mentor?
And again, like I said, choosing a mentor, I mean, there's a level of discernment. There's a lot of trust. Like for me, it started with childlike enthusiasm. So I would never blame. I've had good mentors, bad mentors, but it was childlike enthusiasm and blind faith that had me follow a particular mentor in my life. And I was learning by this example what a leader was. And now looking back in comparison to the mentor I have now, I can actually look and go, I don't know if I was a leader. There's a lot of people in the world that I've met or spoken to that be like, oh yeah, Rod Norville, he's a leader. Looking back after the fall, I can honestly say I wasn't a leader. I was an influencer, meaning I influenced people to follow me. I could motivate and inspire people to follow me, but if I was a true leader, I would have developed other leaders.
Of course.
But in influencing people to follow me, I don't think it's the same thing. So if someone was looking at me saying they wanted me to be their leader, they would have been looking at because I'm making all this money, or I'm on the stage and I'm talking, or I'm driving this car, or I'm wearing these clothes. But if they followed me home and saw me cutting my wife off every time she talked, or not letting her finish her sentences, or, just dishonoring her in whatever way, I'm walking down the street or I'm driving and a girl drives by and I'm doing one of these,
Yeah.
That's dishonoring my wife. So if they're sitting there watching me, now I'm not congruent. Now they can't trust me. There's no integrity. They're like, you're on the stage saying this, but then I see you doing that. So who you say you are is not who you are.
Yeah.
How do I trust you?
So how do they go about getting a mentor? Like, you have a mentor now. How did you get that mentor?
Mine was God sent 100%. And I know that. So it's not going to be the case for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You have to seek a mentor out. Whether it's in a business that you're looking at, there's a lot of people that'll join a business, but the person that signed them up, I'm picking on because it's the easiest one to talk about, is the world of direct sales or network marketing or multi-level marketing. And it's like the person that signed you up in the business might have joined 2 days before you.
Yeah.
Okay. They know it's the blind leading the blind, but eventually up the chain, up the line, there's somebody that's doing it full time. Get on their radar. Show up at the meetings, be coachable, get on the webinars, the conference calls, whatever the system is, you got to be plugged in.
Yeah.
If you're plugged in, the mentor, that's the person, they'll figure out who you are, because you're going to start getting results, right? It's like in a business, you got to be plugged in. It's like an iron. If you're an iron and you're plugged in, if you plug in the iron, what happens to the iron? It heats up.
Yeah.
If you unplug the iron, what happens? The iron cools down.
Yeah.
So in any of these businesses, the ones I'm picking on here, there's a system. There's webinars, there's meetings, there's trainings, there's conference calls. If you're plugged in, you heat up. If you're not plugged in, you cool down. If you're plugged in and you heat up, you're going to get results. And somebody in the upline is going to recognize you. You'll get on their radar. Now that you're on the radar, now you have to use discernment and be cognizant of, who are they? I get what they're saying when they're up there. Man, they're slick. They got all the lines. They got all the objection handling. They're slick. They're smooth. They look good. They smell good. Great. Go buy them a coffee.
Yeah.
Go buy them a coffee. Say, hey, I'd love to pick your brain. I'm passionate about this business. I love the products. I really think I can change my life here for my family. My family deserves a better life. I'm willing to do the work. Can I buy you a coffee? They'll say yes. But if you sit down with them for a coffee for an hour and they spend 59 minutes of the hour talking about themselves, what they've done, where they've been, what they have, that's not the mentor.
If that's not what you're looking for, right?
No.
So like, basically, I'm trying to break this down for like anybody. So like, even if you let's say you worked at a company and you knew that you wanted to be in training, you'd get around the people who did the training.
Correct.
You'd ask those questions. You'd be like, hey, and you'd even like suggest, hey, can I pick your brain? Can I get a coffee sometime? Maybe
Speaking to people, because I'm sure you have listeners that have jobs.
Yeah.
They're not entrepreneurial yet and they're in their job. You can be in a job. Like, I love my job right now. And I'm like, this all switched in the last month. I'm a national accounts manager for Duracell. And I literally changed my energy about my job, because I'm not working towards my paycheck. I'm working towards my opportunity. So I'm treating it with an entrepreneurial mindset that the company has huge potential for growth.
It does.
So you work towards your opportunity, not your paycheck, and you will be recognized in the company and you'll be advanced. You should be the most positive person in your work. If you're in a job but you have an entrepreneurial mindset and you're working towards your opportunity, not the paycheck, because the paycheck's a fixed income. And if you're an entrepreneur, fixed income doesn't work. It's not congruent with building a business where you can have unlimited income potential. Right? Definitely. Unlimited income potential is what entrepreneurs are appealing. Like, that's what they find appealing.
Of course.
You get in a job, it's a fixed income. The challenge with a fixed income is that life is not fixed. Cost of living is not fixed. Kids needing braces, not fixed. Kids getting hurt and needing something that's not covered by OHIP, not fixed. So if the cost of living is not fixed and your income's fixed, that's a challenge. But if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you can forget about the fact that your income is fixed. You can think about the fact that the opportunity is unlimited, because if I outwork everybody here, if I'm more positive, if I show up early, if I stay late, if I'm more committed, I'm going to stand out. So I can create opportunity out of a job.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because even as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, if you stayed at a job, you could easily become like a trainer. Like, if they were like, hey, like, you could easily train people, like with the skill set that I'm seeing from you right now.
I would love to do that where I am right now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
but that's 9 to 5. I still have 5 to 9. So I can go to work for a company. And then what's my options when I go home? Sit on the couch and watch the lives of other people and live vicariously through the lives of people on reality TV.
Yeah.
Or go to work and build a business for my family.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn used to say it, 9 to 5 will pay you a living, 5 to 9 will pay you a life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess that's the whole thing with a mentor. Actually stand out and reach out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's wrap it up.
This
here.
has been great.
Thank you so much for this.
Great. This
2 hours and 36 minutes.
What? No.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on.
And probably longer, right? Because we talked for like a good
I have no idea what time it is right now.
Oh, it's like 10 o'clock.
Come on.
10:47. Fuck.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I got an hour drive home.
Yeah, I got an hour drive. With
Hey, wrap it up.
All right, guys, this has been The Process. You have just seen Mr. Norville speak about all sorts of amazing things. His buddy Todd is actually behind the cameras. You can't see him, but he's been here and he's been praying for us the whole time.
Absolutely.
Holy smokes.
Thank you so much for watching the podcast, The Process, the podcast about mindset, habits, and behaviors. Hope you had a good one. Take it easy. Peace.
Holy smokes. Were we really talking that long?
Hell
Are you going to be able to make anything out of that? Like you'll splice it all up and take some? Or I don't know what you do. How you do?
I don't know.
You said something about it right in the beginning, dude. I don't know
You said something about what?
between 3 and 4.
3 and 4 what?
Getting up at 3 and 4.
Oh, yeah, 4. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I get up at 4.
Do you know the significance of it?
So getting up
That's
at
what time I get up. It's 4 o'clock.
Spiritually?
Oh, I don't know anything about spiritual. I just know that's what Billy Eric Thomas.
Back in the day. Back in the day,
Yeah.
God will come and walk with Adam.
Rod Norville outro. Well, there you have it. That was Rod Norville. Rod's a special guy. Like, you just heard that interview, but there was a whole thing before the interview. He like brought his friend. His friend is like super like into like Christ and God and stuff. He like sat me down and like grabbed my leg and like pulled it, and he said one was longer than the other. He straightened it out. He did a bunch of weird spiritual stuff, and yeah, and it was just really cool. Me and Rod connected on a lot of different levels. The death of our fathers and having to pull ourselves out of the dumps, so to speak, and yeah, it was a really fun conversation, really fulfilling conversation. I felt fuller after we talked about this stuff because he is an older gentleman, and it was like a bit of a tutelage. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And you can check Rod out. Again, you know me, Instagram bandit, so I'm on here right now looking up his stuff. Last I checked, his Instagram wasn't like crazy. Rod Norville. His Instagram isn't cracking like it should be. Oh, well, I can say that all I want. Jesus, he has more followers than I do. Okay, he's killing it. Hey, my cousin follows him. Hey, I don't follow him. Why aren't I following him? Boom. Now I am following Rod. Yeah, if you want to get in touch with Rod, his Instagram is C4_success coaching. That's Rod Norville. That is Rod, just like Rod is spelled. Can't figure that out? Turn the podcast off, pick up a book. And Norville is Norville. Definitely someone to watch. Definitely someone to learn from. And yeah, hope you guys had fun listening to that. Until next week, again, no sponsors. No sponsors, because sponsors give no love. No love from sponsors for me, so I have no sponsors. This was brought to you by My Curiosity. Peace.